There's a moment every person knows, when you're lying in bed at night and suddenly the weight of everything you're carrying feels too heavy for your chest. When loneliness sits so close, it feels like it has its own heartbeat. If you're listening to this right now, you know that moment deeply. And if it feels right, share with me where you're listening from, because what I'm about to share has traveled across centuries just to reach you tonight. Over 2,500 years ago, a young prince walked away from everything he knew not out of weakness, but because he could no longer bear watching people suffer. What he discovered in the stillness changed the way we understand pain, healing, and the silent battles we all face. These aren't just teachings, they're 12 timeless keys that unlock something you've always carried inside you. No expensive therapy bills, no harsh side effects, just gentle wisdom that works on your timeline, not the world's single quotes. So, find your quietest space right now. Maybe hold something soft in your hands, because teaching number 6 is going to completely shift the way you see yourself, not as broken, but as becoming. And here's the truth. No one tells you your pain isn't random. It's been guiding you toward this very moment of healing. Let's uncover why together. Teaching 1. Suffering is your sacred teacher. There's a truth that most of us run from, but at some point in life, it catches us. It's the truth that suffering is not just random pain, not just a cruel twist of fate, it is a teacher. And like every teacher, it comes with lessons that, if understood, can completely change the way we live, love, and heal. Let's begin with a question. What if I told you that your deepest pain is not here to destroy you, but to guide you? Not in some vague or abstract way, but in a very practical, real sense. As real as medicine circulating through your bloodstream when you take it for an illness, as real as your body sending white blood cells to heal a wound without you having to ask. I know this might sound impossible when you're caught in the heaviness of it. When depression presses against your chest like an immovable stone. When loneliness follows you from room to room, almost like it has its own heartbeat. When heartbreak, grief, or failure feels like it has shattered the very ground beneath your feet. But stay with me, because what you're about to discover could change the way you see your struggles forever. The universal experience of pain. Human being, no matter their culture, age, or background, has faced a moment when life stripped away something they thought they needed to survive. Maybe it was a relationship that ended suddenly, leaving behind an emptiness you didn't know how to fill. Maybe it was a dream that collapsed before your eyes, leaving you questioning whether you were ever capable at all. Maybe it was the death of someone you loved so deeply that you wondered if your heart would ever beat the same way again. In those moments, suffering feels merciless. It convinces us we are broken, that something fundamental about our lives has gone wrong. But what if those moments aren't breakdowns at all? What if they are breakthroughs in disguise? The Buddha's discovery over 2,500 years ago, a young prince sat beneath a tree and made a decision that would forever alter human understanding. He looked directly into the face of suffering, the kind of suffering that every human being experiences. And he did not turn away. What he saw was extraordinary. He realized that suffering was not punishment. It was not a sign of weakness. It was not proof that life was unfair. It was information. It was guidance. The Buddha taught pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. What did he mean? He meant that life will bring pain, loss, disappointment, illness, heartbreak are unavoidable. This is the human condition. But suffering, the ongoing torment we feel, often comes from our resistance to pain, from our belief that it should not be happening, from the story we tell ourselves that our pain means we are broken, unworthy, or cursed. Pain is the cut. Suffering is the way we pick at it, shame it, and refuse to let it heal. The healing wisdom within, think about how your body heals a wound. It doesn't sit in judgment, it doesn't shame the injury, and it doesn't ask why it happened. It simply begins the process of repair. Your emotional self works the same way. Your heart has a natural capacity to heal, to find balance, to rebuild from brokenness. But the world has taught us to fear pain. We numb it. We silence it with distractions, addictions, and constant busyness. We see depression as a malfunction rather than a message. We see loneliness as a flaw rather than a signal pointing us back toward true connection. But what if we've had it all backwards? What if the pain itself is the messenger? What if it has been trying all along to show us what truly matters, what truly heals, and who we truly are? Pain as a guide. Imagine someone who loses a career they thought defined them. At first, they collapse under the weight of shame and uncertainty. But in the silence that follows, they begin to rediscover passions and values they had buried for years. Suddenly, they realize the suffering wasn't random. It was redirection. Or imagine a person whose heartbreak felt unbearable. In the depths of their grief, they began to understand that they had been molding themselves into someone else's vision of love. The pain forced them to see their own worth, their own voice, their own boundaries. Suffering is not a dead end. It is often the doorway. The first noble truth is the first noble truth the Buddha taught. Life contains suffering. At first, this might sound depressing, but it is actually liberating. Why? Because when you stop being surprised by difficulty, when you stop taking pain personally, you begin to see it for what it really is, a universal experience, not a personal flaw. And in that space of acceptance, you can begin to ask, what is this trying to teach me? Suffering is not punishment. It is enrollment in the school of wisdom, and the lessons are always tailored exactly to what your soul most needs to learn. Your pain. So, how do you begin? Start small. The next time you feel that familiar ache rising in your chest, instead of numbing it with noise or distraction, pause. Place your hand over your heart. Take 3 slow, gentle breaths and ask softly, what are you trying to tell me? Don't demand an answer. Don't pressure yourself for clarity. Just listen. Listen the way you would listen to a dear friend who was in pain, patiently, compassionately, without judgment. Because that's what you are doing, befriending your own suffering, turning it from an enemy into a teacher. Suffering is transformation throughout history. The greatest transformations have often emerged from the deepest struggles, not because suffering itself is magical, but because suffering has a way of stripping away illusions. It forces us to let go of false identities, false securities, and false comforts. What remains is something more real, something more authentic, something more aligned with who we truly are. Your suffering is not proof that something is wrong with you. It is proof that you are alive, growing, evolving. It is proof that your heart has not gone completely numb, because even when it hurts, the very act of feeling means you are still connected to life. The farmer's wisdom. There's an old story about a farmer whose horse ran away. The neighbors said, "How terrible." The farmer simply replied, "Maybe, so maybe not." The next day, the horse returned, bringing 3 wild horses with it. The neighbors exclaimed, "How wonderful." The farmer said again, "Maybe so, maybe not." Later, the farmer's son tried to ride one of the wild horses and broke his leg. The neighbors cried, "How terrible." The farmer said again, "Maybe, so maybe not." A week later, soldiers came through the village to recruit young men for war. Because of his broken leg, the farmer's son was spared. This story reminds us of something essential. In the moment, we rarely know whether what looks like disaster is actually a blessing in disguise. Suffering may appear as the enemy, but it often contains the seeds of redirection and transformation. Pain as regeneration. Think of a broken bone. It hurts terribly while it's healing, but beneath the pain, new tissue is forming. The bone is regenerating, and when the healing is complete, the bone is often stronger than it was before. Your emotional healing works the same way. The pain you feel is not destruction, it's reconstruction. Different relationship with pain. So here is the invitation of teaching one. Stop running from suffering. Stop labeling it as failure, punishment, or weakness. Instead, turn toward it. Welcome it as a sacred teacher. Ask it, what lesson are you bringing me? What truth are you pointing me toward? And then listen, because the answers will come. Not all at once, not overnight, but gently, in whispers. Like dawn breaking over the horizon. Closing reflection for teaching one. Your suffering has been trying to get your attention for a reason. Not to punish you, not to break you, but to guide you toward the life, the wisdom, and the strength that you didn't even know you carried inside you. This is the heart of the first teaching. Suffering is your sacred teacher. It is the beginning, not the end. It is the seed, not the conclusion. And when you begin to see it this way, the heaviness of pain begins to shift. It no longer feels like a life sentence. It begins to feel like an initiation. And that is where true healing begins. But of course, one question remains: what happens when the pain feels endless? When the lessons seem too hard and the suffering feels like it will never end?
Teaching 2. Emotions are weather. They will pass. Depression once told you a lie. It whispered in your ear, "This is permanent. This is forever. This is who you are." But depression lied. Anxiety has lied to you as well, insisting that safety will never return. Loneliness has lied, murmuring in the dark, "No one will ever understand you." They all lied, because emotions are not permanent. They are weather. And just like every storm, they too will pass. The sky and the weather. Right now, wherever you are, pause for a moment. Imagine stepping outside in your mind. Look upward. Picture the sky above you, vast, endless, stretching out in every direction. Can you see it? If you can't literally see it, imagine it vividly. A canvas so wide, so open, that no cloud can ever stain it permanently. Now notice the weather within that sky. Maybe today your inner sky feels heavy, with thick gray clouds blocking all warmth. Maybe you sense a storm, rain pounding, thunder rolling, lightning striking without mercy. Or maybe your inner weather is bright, clear sunlight, open blue, soft breezes that make everything feel light. But here's the truth that will set you free. The weather is not the sky. The clouds, no matter how dark, cannot damage the sky. The storm, no matter how violent, cannot shrink the sky's vastness. Even when the sky is completely covered, hidden, unseen, the sky itself remains unchanged, untouched, eternal. And here's the revelation. You are like that sky. Your emotions, your sadness, anxiety, anger, despair, are just weather. They move through you, but they do not define you. They cannot break you. They cannot stain the vast, eternal awareness that is your true self. The Buddha's teaching on impermanence. This isn't just a poetic metaphor. This is one of the most liberating truths ever taught. The Buddha called it anicca, or impermanence. Everything that arises will pass away. Every thought, every feeling, every sensation. But we forget this when we're inside the storm. Depression feels like endless fog. It convinces you it will never lift. Anxiety feels like lightning striking again and again. It convinces you that danger is real and permanent. Loneliness feels like a winter with no spring. It convinces you that warmth will never return. Yet these are not truths. They are simply the voices of temporary weather pretending to be the sky. The fever analogy. Think back to the last time you had a fever. Your body burned with heat. You felt weak, achy, unable to function. It felt endless. But what happened? Your body, in its deep wisdom, knew exactly what to do. It didn't need you to force healing. It allowed the fever to run its natural course. And then, without your control, without your command, the fever broke. Your temperature normalized, your energy returned, the aches faded. Emotions work the same way. When we allow them to rise, flow, and fall naturally without resistance, they break on their own. They pass. But we've been trained to fear emotional weather. We're told sadness means something is wrong with us. Anxiety means we're weak. Loneliness means we're unlovable. So instead of allowing, we fight, we resist, we try to force sunshine when all that's needed is to let the storm pass. You are not your emotions. Here's the powerful shift. You are not depressed. You are experiencing depression. You are not anxious. You are experiencing anxiety. You are not broken. You are experiencing brokenness. Do you feel the difference? One identity makes you the victim of emotions. The other makes you the witness of them. One says, this is who you are. The other says, this is simply what you are moving through. When you understand you are the sky, not the weather, something profound shifts. You stop taking emotions personally. You stop believing they define you. You start watching them with compassion instead of fear, with curiosity instead of judgment. A simple practice. Let me guide you through something now. A practice you can use anytime the storm feels too strong. Sit comfortably. If you can, close your eyes. If not, just soften your gaze. Take a deep, slow breath in through your nose. Hold it for a moment. Now exhale gently through your mouth, as if you're releasing air through a straw. Whatever you're feeling, sadness, anxiety, anger, restlessness, don't push it away. Instead, imagine it as weather moving across your inner sky. If you're heavy, see thick clouds drifting slowly. If you're restless, imagine strong winds blowing. If you're numb, picture soft snow falling quietly. Just breathe with it. Don't resist. Don't force the sun to shine. Just be the vast sky holding it all. Notice, no matter how strong the weather, the sky itself remains spacious, calm, untouched. The ocean analogy. Think of the ocean. On the surface, a storm may rage, waves thrashing, chaotic, violent. But dive just a few feet below and the waters are calmer. Go deeper still and there is profound stillness, completely untouched by the storm above. Your emotions live on the surface, but deep inside there is always stillness, always peace, always sky. The more you practice shifting from weather to sky, the more easily you access that inner calm, even while storms rage. Feel, but don't become. This doesn't mean you should suppress emotions. No. Emotions carry messages. They deserve to be felt, acknowledged, honored. But they don't deserve to become your identity. When sadness comes, welcome it like rain. Feel it. Let it pass. When anxiety visits, breathe with it. Give it space. Let it rise and fall without believing its lies. When loneliness arrives, offer it compassion. Let it remind you of your need for connection, but not convince you you're unworthy of it. There's an old Buddhist phrase, "This too shall pass." 4 words, infinite wisdom. When joy comes, this too shall pass, so savor it deeply. When pain comes, this too shall pass, so don't fear it. It's not forever. Depression lifts, just like fog burns away in the morning sun. Anxiety settles, just like rough seas smooth into calm waters. Loneliness fades, just like winter always yields to spring. A shift in language. Here's a practical tool. Change your words. Instead of saying, "I am sad," say, "Sadness is visiting me." Instead of "I am anxious," say, "Anxiety is moving through me." Instead of "I am depressed," say, "Depression is here right now." It might feel small, but it's not. It's a powerful shift in identity. You are no longer the weather, you are the sky in which weather comes and goes. Buddha's reminder. Even the Buddha, after enlightenment, experienced emotions. He felt grief when loved ones died. He felt disappointment when students misunderstood him. He felt pain when his body was sick. But he never confused those passing experiences with his true nature. He never forgot. Emotions are weather, not the sky. That's the gift waiting for you too. Not detachment, not numbness, but freedom. Freedom to feel fully without being consumed. Freedom to honor emotions without being enslaved by them. Closing reflection. Take a moment now. Place your hand gently on your heart. Feel your breath rising and falling. Say to yourself, I am the sky. These emotions are weather. They will pass. Hold that truth. Because no matter what storm you're facing, the vast, infinite sky of your being remains untouched, unbroken, eternal. And that means you are not broken. You are whole. Transition to next teaching. And speaking of experiences that feel permanent but aren't, there's another storm almost all of us face. It's called loneliness. But what if loneliness itself was not the problem? What if loneliness was actually a guide pointing you towards something deeply human and beautiful? That's what we'll explore in the next teaching.
Teaching 3. Loneliness is a doorway to truth. Loneliness isn't emptiness. It's spaciousness waiting to be discovered. I know that might sound impossible when you're sitting in the middle of that familiar ache, when silence feels so heavy it presses down on your chest, when you're surrounded by people yet feel like you're speaking a language no one else understands. But what if everything you've been told about loneliness is backwards? What if the very feeling you've been trying so hard to escape is not your enemy, but your guide? What if loneliness has been pointing you home quietly all along? Alone versus lonely. There is a profound difference between being alone and being lonely. Being alone is a description of circumstance. Loneliness is a judgment we place upon it. Loneliness is the story our minds tell about being alone, that it means we are unloved, unwanted, or broken. And when you shift your perspective, when you learn to see this difference, one of the most painful experiences of life can transform into one of the most sacred. The Buddha's journey into solitude. More than 2,500 years ago, a young prince made a decision that shocked everyone around him. He had wealth, power, luxuries beyond imagination, servants to meet his every need, family and friends who adored him. And yet, he walked away from it all. He left behind his palace, his riches, his social circles, and entered the forest to sit in solitude. For 6 years, he lived in almost complete aloneness. Not because he hated people, and not because he was broken, but because he was searching for something that no amount of human company could provide. And in that silence, in that profound aloneness, he discovered something extraordinary. The peace he had been searching for wasn't hidden in palaces or marketplaces. It wasn't waiting in the applause of crowds. It wasn't even found in the company of those who loved him. It was waiting in the silence of his own heart. This was not depression. This was not antisocial behavior. This was recognition that before you can fully connect with the world, you must first connect deeply with yourself. Nature's wisdom. Nature knows this truth intimately. Seeds germinate in the dark silence of the soil. Trees grow tallest when their roots have space to spread without being crowded. Even the most social animals retreat at times. Wolves rest alone, birds perch in solitude, lions wander away from the pride to renew their strength. Nature heals in silence, and so do human hearts.
But we live in a world that has forgotten this wisdom. We've been taught that being alone means something is wrong with us. We've been taught to fear silence, to fill every quiet space with noise, distraction, or busyness. We scroll through endless feeds, chasing connection through glowing screens, yet we feel more disconnected than ever. This is the paradox of our age. Never before have we been so connected, and never before have we felt so lonely. Loneliness as a call home. The loneliness you feel is not proof that you are broken or unwanted. It is your inner wisdom calling you back to yourself. It is an invitation to come home, to the one relationship that will never abandon you, the relationship with your own presence. Think about how loneliness feels in your body. Often there's a hollow sensation in your chest, a sense of space that aches to be filled. But here's the shift. What if that hollow isn't emptiness? What if it's spaciousness? Emptiness feels lacking, hungry, desperate. Spaciousness feels open, peaceful, full of possibility. It's the same sensation, but how you interpret it changes everything. A gentle practice. The next time you feel lonely, resist the urge to immediately reach for distraction. Instead, pause, sit quietly, place a hand on your chest and breathe gently into that space. Don't label it emptiness, call it spaciousness. Don't see it as a void waiting to be filled from the outside. See it as room for your own presence to expand. Because here's the liberating truth. The cure for loneliness isn't more people, it's more presence. From need to abundance. When you learn to be genuinely present with yourself, when you realize your own company can be nourishing instead of torturous, something magical happens. You stop being desperate for connection, and instead you become available for it. There is a world of difference between connecting with people because you need them to fill your emptiness and connecting because you have presence to share. One comes from lack, the other comes from abundance. One creates clingy, anxious relationships. The other allows for intimacy rooted in freedom and trust. Changing the story. How do you befriend solitude? How do you transform loneliness from enemy into ally? It starts with the story you tell yourself about being alone. Instead of, "No one wants to be with me," try, "I'm learning to enjoy my own company." Instead of, "I'm so lonely," try, "I'm discovering what it means to be present with myself." This is not denial, it's reclaiming. It's shifting from victimhood to empowerment. A mindfulness exercise. Here's a simple way to practice this right now. The next time you find yourself alone, instead of rushing to fill the silence, pause. Sit quietly. Look around your space as if you're seeing it for the first time. Notice 5 things you can see. Really see them. Notice 4 things you can touch. The texture of your clothes, the air on your skin. Notice 3 things you can hear. The hum of a fridge, the sound of your breath. Notice 2 things you can smell. Notice 1 thing you can taste. This practice roots you in the present moment, and loneliness cannot survive in the fullness of now, because loneliness lives only in the mind's stories about the past or fears of the future. Noble solitude. The Buddha once spoke of something he called noble solitude. This is not isolation. It is not withdrawal from life. It is the conscious choice to sit with yourself without distraction, without agenda, without trying to fix or change anything, simply being present with what is. In noble solitude, you begin to hear the quiet voice of your own wisdom. You start noticing patterns in your thoughts and emotions that you missed before. You begin discovering what is authentically yours. Not what society, friends, or family told you to want, but what your soul has always longed for. This is why solitude is medicine, not punishment. Facing the fear of silence. Many people fear being alone because they fear what they will find there. What if I'm boring? What if I don't like myself? What if silence reveals how empty I really am? But here's the truth. You are not empty. You are overflowing with conditioning, with voices from the past, with endless stories about who you should be. Silence doesn't reveal emptiness. It reveals authenticity. When you strip away the noise, what emerges is not lack, but essence, the real you. And the real you is never boring. The real you is never empty. The real you is exactly what you've been longing to meet. Small steps into solitude. Healing through solitude doesn't require you to vanish into the forest for years. Start small. Spend 5 minutes in the morning sitting quietly before reaching for your phone. Take a short walk without music or podcasts. Eat one meal in silence, tasting each bite fully. Notice how these moments don't diminish you. They expand you. They don't make you lonelier. They make you more present. They don't isolate you. They prepare you to connect more authentically with others. Relationships reimagined. The Buddha didn't abandon solitude because he disliked people. He returned to the world after his awakening because he understood something profound. The quality of your relationship with others can never exceed the quality of your relationship with yourself. When you're at peace in your own company, you stop using relationships to escape yourself. Instead, you use them to express yourself. You no longer settle for connections that drain you just to avoid being alone. You begin choosing relationships that nourish, inspire, and elevate. Loneliness, when seen clearly, becomes a doorway to truth. The truth that the most important relationship you will ever have is with your own presence. You were never alone. Your loneliness is not punishment. It is invitation. It is not proof that you are unlovable. It is proof that your heart is asking you to return home. Because you've never been truly alone. You've always had yourself. You've always had this breath. You've always had this awareness. You've always had this present moment. The spaciousness you feel in loneliness isn't a void waiting for someone else to fill. It is the natural spaciousness of your open heart, reminding you of your infinite capacity to love and be loved. Transition. Now that loneliness no longer feels like torment, but like a teacher, we arrive at another truth. One of the deepest sources of suffering in life doesn't come from being alone. It comes from clinging to what is already leaving. That is where our next teaching begins.
Teaching 4. Attachment is the root. Let go gently. You're not holding on because you're strong. You're holding on because you're scared. There's a difference, though it doesn't feel like one when your fingers are wrapped so tightly around something already slipping away. When your heart clings to a relationship that's clearly ending. When your mind replays a conversation from last week trying to change words already spoken. When your soul grips an identity that no longer fits who you're becoming. The Buddha discovered something profound about suffering. Most of it doesn't come from what happens to us. It comes from how we relate to what happens. It comes from our desperate need to hold on to what is naturally designed to flow. The rope of attachment. Imagine you're holding a rope. On the other end, life is pulling. At first gently, then with increasing force. That rope represents everything you think you need to be okay. The person you don't want to lose. The job you're afraid won't last. The identity you've built over years. The future you've planned down to the smallest detail. As life pulls in another direction, you grip tighter. Your knuckles turn white. Your palms burn.
The harder you hold on, the more it hurts. But here's the illusion. You tell yourself the pain is proof that you care, that loosening your grip would mean failure, that letting go would mean giving up. What you don't realize is that the pain doesn't come from life pulling the rope away. It comes from your refusal to release your grip. Nature's wisdom of letting go. Every autumn, trees perform one of the most beautiful acts of release. They don't cling to their leaves out of fear that winter will be too harsh. They don't hold on because they're attached to how beautiful they looked in summer. They simply let go. What seems like loss is actually preparation. What looks like emptiness is making space for renewal. Trees know what we forget. Letting go is not failure. It's the rhythm of life. But we've been trained differently. We've been told persistence always pays off. That grit means gripping harder. That never quit is wisdom. So we hold on long past the moment of life's invitation to release. We exhaust ourselves trying to keep summer alive in the middle of autumn. But the truth is gentler than we imagine. Letting go isn't loss. It's liberation. Attachment versus love. This doesn't mean becoming cold, passive, or indifferent. It doesn't mean walking away from everything that matters. It means learning the difference between holding and strangling, commitment and attachment, love and possession. Attachment says, "This must never change." Love says, "I want what's truly best, even if that means growth beyond me." Attachment contracts with fear. Love expands with trust. When you're attached to someone, you try to control their choices. When you love someone, you support their path, even when it leads them away. When you're attached to an identity, you resist growth. When you love yourself, you allow who you are to keep unfolding. Attachment is a cage disguised as care. Love is freedom rooted in trust. A gentle practice of release. Think of something you're holding on to that might be ready to go. Maybe it's resentment towards someone who hurt you. Maybe it's anxiety about an outcome you can't control. Maybe it's an old version of yourself you've outgrown. Now place your hands in front of you, palms open. Imagine that you're cradling this attachment. Feel its weight. Notice how tired your arms get when you hold something too long. Take a slow breath. Visualize this attachment as a small bird resting in your hands. On your exhale, imagine opening your palms. The bird lifts off, not because you forced it, but because you gave it freedom. Your hands are now empty. But emptiness is not loss, it's freedom. Free to rest, free to receive what life wants to place there next. This is what healthy letting go feels like. Not violent, not forced, but natural. Like leaves falling, like breath flowing out, like rivers returning to the sea. Why letting go feels so hard? Why do we resist letting go? Because attachment whispers a false promise. If you can just control this one thing, you'll be safe. But safety built on control is an illusion. Life is constant change. The only certainty is impermanence. Water teaches us this. A river doesn't fight rocks in its path. It flows around them. It doesn't resist gravity. It finds its power in surrendering to it. This is the way of wisdom. Power through release, not resistance. Fear, care, and confusion. We mistake clinging for care. We think that holding tighter means we love deeper. But that's fear masquerading as devotion. Fear says, I can't live without this. Love says, even if this changes, I wish it well. Fear says, I'll lose myself if I let go. Love says, I'll find a truer version of myself when I release. Fear contracts the heart. Love expands it. The intelligence of life. When you practice letting go, you're not becoming indifferent. You're learning to trust the same intelligence that beats your heart, heals your wounds, and moves the seasons. This intelligence knows when chapters must close. It knows when relationships are complete. It knows when old skins must be shed for new growth. Resisting this intelligence is like trying to hold back spring. Exhausting, futile, painful. But aligning with it, that's where freedom is born. The spaciousness of release. When you release, something miraculous happens. The energy once tied up and gripping becomes available. Space opens for something new. Possibility appears where fear once lived. Every ending creates a beginning. Every letting go opens the door to a deeper receiving. But your hands cannot receive while they are still clenched around what's leaving. Caring without clinging. Letting go doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care so much that you prefer truth over illusion, growth over stagnation, love over possession. It means trusting that you are resilient enough to face what comes next. And you are. More resilient than you know. Stronger than your attachments. Wider than your need to control. The Buddha's teaching. The Buddha taught that suffering arises from attachment to be impermanent. But he also taught that liberation is possible by seeing impermanence clearly and flowing with it instead of fighting it. This doesn't happen all at once. Letting go is not a single event, but a lifelong practice. Some days you'll cling again. Other days you'll remember to release. Both are part of the path. Be gentle with yourself. The parts of you that cling are simply trying to keep you safe. They only need to be shown there's a better way. The shift. Peace doesn't come from holding on until life obeys your script. Peace comes from loosening your grip and realizing this moment is already enough. When you no longer demand that life stay the same, you discover the freedom to dance with change. And in that dance, you'll find the truth. Letting go isn't the end. It's the beginning.
Teaching 5. The present moment is where peace lives. Expanded script. Peace is not hiding somewhere far off in your future, waiting for you to earn it. It has never been absent from you. It has always been here, quietly waiting in your breath, in your body, in the space of this very moment. Right now, as you take in these words, peace is available to you. Not when you finish listening, not when you solve all your problems, not when you finally feel better or figure everything out. Peace is here now, in the rising and falling of your chest, in the miracle that your heart beats without your efforts, in the simple aliveness of this breath. And yet, most of us miss it. We have been conditioned to believe peace is something to chase, something to achieve, something waiting on the other side of a long checklist of accomplishments. Your mind has become a time traveler, endlessly revisiting yesterday's regrets or jumping ahead to tomorrow's worries, wandering everywhere except where life is actually unfolding. Here is a truth that may surprise you. Your mind can only generate suffering when it leaves the present. Think about it. Anxiety lives in the future. It feeds on what-if scenarios, imagined disasters, and fears about what might happen, even though most of those fears never come true. Depression lives in the past. It dwells on what went wrong, what you've lost, what can't be changed no matter how many times you replay it. But peace lives only in the present.
Every cell in your body regenerates here. Every healing moment happens here. Peace does not arise by thinking about it, but by entering the space of now. Arriving in the now. Let's pause and do something simple. Wherever you are, gently notice. What is the surface beneath you? Is it soft, firm, warm, cool? What sounds can you hear right now? Traffic? The hum of electricity? The subtle sound of your breath? What does the air feel like on your skin? Notice how each detail is alive and unique. This is not trivial. This is medicine. Your anxious mind has been searching everywhere for safety, except the one place it actually exists, this moment. The Buddha himself spent years chasing awakening through extreme discipline and philosophy, yet his enlightenment happened not through striving, but through deep presence. Simply sitting under the Bodhi tree, noticing his breath, noticing life as it is. He stopped trying to get somewhere else and realized that he had always been here. The warm cup practice. You don't need a monastery to experience this. Presence can be woven into the most ordinary moments. Let me guide you through a gentle exercise that can reset your nervous system in just a few minutes. If you have a warm drink nearby, tea, coffee, or even warm water, hold the cup in your hands. If you don't, simply imagine it. Feel the warmth of the cup. Notice the way the heat travels into your palms, how your fingers curl gently around it. This is your anchor. Bring the cup close to your face. Breathe in the scent. Is it earthy, sweet, bitter, or simple steam? Watch the steam dance upwards. No pattern will ever repeat exactly. Take a slow sip. Let the warmth rest on your tongue before swallowing. Feel it travel down your throat, nourishing you. This is meditation, not a complex ritual, not an exotic practice, just being fully alive to this moment. Ask yourself, where are your worries right now? Where is your fear about tomorrow or your pain about yesterday? For these brief seconds, they can't exist. Not because you push them away, but because presence naturally dissolves them. The mind's resistance. Your mind might protest. This is silly. I don't have time to sit and drink tea. I have problems to solve. That voice has been running your life for years. It's the voice that tells you happiness is always one step away, that you need to fix everything before you can rest. But what if you stopped believing that voice? What if you could thank it for trying to protect you and then gently return to this moment? The warmth in your hands, the breath moving in and out, the miracle that you are alive. Presence as medicine. The present moment is not just where peace lives, it's where healing lives. Your body heals only in the present. Your heart opens only in the present. Your mind finds clarity only in the present. All the therapy, all the planning, all the strategies in the world only work when you are present for them. Yet, we've been conditioned to postpone life. I'll be happy when I get the promotion. I'll feel okay when I lose the weight. I'll rest when everything is finally under control. This is a kind of violence against yourself, the belief that this moment is not enough. The Buddha described this as the hungry ghost realm, an endless grasping for more, an inability to be satisfied. But the truth is, life has always been enough. The sensation of your clothes on your skin, the breath in your lungs, the dance of light and shadow in the room, this is your real life. Nothing is missing here except your attention. Why presence changes everything. When you truly grasp that peace is available now, your whole relationship with life changes. You stop waiting for permission to feel okay. You stop believing that you need to earn rest.
You see that the present is not an obstacle to your future. It is the only foundation your future can grow from. This doesn't mean becoming passive or giving up ambition. It means planning from presence rather than panic, acting from love rather than fear. And here's the extraordinary thing. Your nervous system knows the difference. When you live from presence, your breath slows and deepens. Your heart rate stabilizes. Your immune system strengthens. You are not just emotionally better, you are physically healthier. Presence is medicine at the cellular level. Practical ways to return to now. Here are some gentle practices to weave presence into your life. Micro moments of awareness. Each time you wash your hands, pause and feel the water. Each time you eat, take one bite in silence, fully tasting it. Sensory anchors. When your mind races, name 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, 1 thing you can taste. Mindful walking. Feel your feet connect with the ground. Notice the rhythm of your steps. Breath awareness. At any moment, place your attention on the rise and fall of your breath. Not to control it, just to notice it. These practices are not about escaping life. They are about fully arriving in it. The more you practice returning to now, the more you realize you don't need to fix your life to be at peace. You need peace to see your life clearly. And from clarity, whatever action is needed becomes obvious. Whatever needs healing begins to heal. Peace as your true nature. Your breath has been with you since the moment you were born. Your heart has been beating every second, asking nothing from you. The present has been patiently holding space for you to return. Peace is not something you achieve, it is something you remember. And when you remember, you begin to see that even what you once called your weakness might simply be an invitation to soften into presence. The cracks in your life are not proof of your failure. They are the spaces through which the light enters. This is where peace lives. Not in tomorrow, not in yesterday, but here, now. When you live from this place, life stops being something to endure until conditions improve. It becomes a miracle unfolding, one breath at a time.
Teaching 6. You're not broken. You're awakening. What you call falling apart is often, in truth, falling together in a new way you cannot yet see. I know that sounds impossible when it's 3 a.m. and your mind won't stop spinning with fear. I know it feels hollow when you stare into the mirror and barely recognize the reflection. I know it feels unbearable when the person you used to be feels like a stranger and the person you are becoming is terrifyingly unclear. But pause for a moment. What if everything you've been taught about brokenness is backwards? What if the moments when you feel most shattered are actually the moments when your deepest wholeness is trying to emerge? The lotus in the mud. There is a flower unlike any other, the lotus. It grows in the muddiest, darkest waters you can imagine. Its roots sink deep into heavy black mud, a place where most plants would suffocate. For months, the seed waits unseen in complete darkness, surrounded by decay and the debris of the world. There is no sunlight, no sign that beauty could ever emerge. But deep within, something stirs. A tiny shoot begins pushing through the mud, not knowing what lies above. Not seeing the surface, only following an inner instinct to rise. It pushes upward, feeling its way through murky water, and one miraculous day, it breaks the surface. Petal by petal, the lotus opens, its blossoms shining like pure white stars, glowing not despite the mud, but because of it. The mud was not its prison. It was its nourishment. The mud was not its shame, it was its teacher. You are that lotus. Your mud, your heartbreak, your trauma, your anxiety, your failures, your moments of complete collapse are not proof of your brokenness. They are the rich soil from which your awakening grows. Dissolving to transform. This is not just a pretty metaphor, it's how life evolves. Consider the caterpillar. It doesn't just wake up one morning with wings. It builds a chrysalis, retreats into stillness, and then does something astonishing. It dissolves. Inside the cocoon, the caterpillar's body literally breaks down into a kind of liquid. To an outside observer, it would look like destruction, like failure. But inside that soup are imaginal cells, cells holding the blueprint for something unimaginable, a creature of the sky instead of the ground, a being of color and flight instead of crawling. The caterpillar doesn't become a better caterpillar, it becomes something entirely new. And so do you. Your breakdown may feel like death, but what's dying are the false layers of self that no longer serve you. What's dying are the expectations that were never truly yours. What's dying is the version of you that you had to be to survive, so the version of you that's meant to live can finally breathe. This is not a punishment, it is the natural process of transformation. The gold in your cracks. There is an ancient Japanese art called kintsugi, the repairing of broken pottery with gold. Instead of hiding the cracks or throwing away the shattered pieces, artisans carefully highlight the fractures with precious metal. The repaired bowl becomes more beautiful and more valuable than it ever was before. Its cracks aren't flaws, they are the most beautiful part. You are like that. Your cracks, the places life has broken you open, aren't evidence of failure. They're where the light gets in. They're where your truest beauty shines through. They're proof that you've lived, felt, risked, and loved deeply. Your nervous system knows. Here's what nobody tells you about the breaking open process. It isn't random. Your nervous system, your heart, your psyche, they have an innate wisdom. The identity that's crumbling, it may have been built on others' expectations anyway. The relationship that's ending, it may have stopped nourishing your soul long ago. The career that feels unbearable, perhaps it never aligns with your authentic self. The breaking apart you feel is not happening to you, it's happening for you. I know it doesn't feel like that right now. When you can't sleep, when you can't breathe, when you're convinced everyone else has life figured out and you're failing at the basics. But you are not behind. You aren't doing life wrong. You are exactly where you need to be for your awakening to unfold. Awakening comes in many forms. Some awakenings arrive like a sunrise, slow, gentle, almost unnoticed until the light is everywhere. Others arrive like lightning, sudden, shocking, illuminating everything in an instant. Many awakenings come disguised as heartbreak, illness, depression, or loss. They come when the old structures of your life can no longer hold the truth of who you are becoming. Think of a seed underground. If you could hear it break open, you might think it was being destroyed. The hard shell cracks, the tender shoot forces its way out, but this is not destruction, it's birth. You are breaking open because something in you is ready to grow, something more authentic, something more aligned with your true self. The symptoms of awakening. Your depression might be your soul slowing you down so you can finally hear what your heart has been whispering. Your anxiety might be the energy of transformation, excitement about who you are becoming filtered through fear. Your loneliness might be clearing space for a more authentic way of connecting with yourself and others. What if every symptom of falling apart is also a symptom of falling into your true life? This doesn't mean you shouldn't seek help. It doesn't mean you should suffer in silence or spiritualize your pain. It means you can seek support not as someone broken, but as someone in the sacred process of rebirth. Buddha nature. You were never broken. The Buddha taught that all beings have Buddha nature, an innate potential for awakening that cannot be destroyed. Your Buddha nature doesn't care about your mistakes, your past, your trauma, or your diagnosis. It's been patiently waiting your whole life for the right conditions to emerge. Sometimes those conditions look like success and joy. Often they look like breakdown and darkness. The composting of who you thought you were creates the rich soil for who you actually are. Real, not perfect. Your awakening doesn't require you to be perfect. It requires you to be real. Real includes broken, confused, grieving, and unsure. Real includes messy tears and sleepless nights. Real includes the parts of you that feel unlovable. When you stop trying to glue yourself back into who you used to be and instead trust the way you're being reassembled, something magical happens. You realize you're not breaking down randomly. You're breaking open with purpose. What's falling away was never truly you. What's emerging is your essence, your truth. Nature never apologizes. Look at spring. Seeds break open. Trees push through dead bark. Flowers burst through hard earth. None of them apologize for their breaking. None of them hide their transformation. You are nature. You are life expressing itself through human form. The breaking you feel is life expanding, love finding new ways to flow through you. Your cracks are not evidence of failure. They are fault lines where new worlds are being born. Your unbreakable core. At the center of all this change is something steady, an unbreakable core that remains untouched by any storm. A peace that doesn't depend on circumstances. A love that includes even your darkest moments. A strength that grows from within the cracks, not in spite of them. You are not broken. You are awakening. You are not falling apart. You are falling into truth. And one day soon, maybe sooner than you think, you will look back at this time and see what was really happening. Not the end of you, but the beginning. Not the collapse of your life, but the birth of your true one. Let this teaching live in your heart. You are not broken. You are becoming. And what you are becoming is more beautiful and more whole than you have ever allowed yourself to imagine.
Teaching 6. You're not broken. You're awakening. What you call falling apart is often, in truth, falling together in a new way you cannot yet see. I know that sounds impossible when it's 3 a.m. and your mind won't stop spinning with fear. I know it feels hollow when you stare into the mirror and barely recognize the reflection. I know it feels unbearable when the person you used to be feels like a stranger and the person you are becoming is terrifyingly unclear. But pause for a moment. What if everything you've been taught about brokenness is backwards? What if the moments when you feel most shattered are actually the moments when your deepest wholeness is trying to emerge? The lotus in the mud. There is a flower unlike any other, the lotus. It grows in the muddiest, darkest waters you can imagine. Its roots sink deep into heavy black mud, a place where most plants would suffocate.
For months, the seed waits unseen in complete darkness, surrounded by decay and the debris of the world. There is no sunlight, no sign that beauty could ever emerge. But deep within, something stirs. A tiny shoot begins pushing through the mud, not knowing what lies above, not seeing the surface, only following an inner instinct to rise. It pushes upward, feeling its way through murky water, and one miraculous day, it breaks the surface. Petal by petal, the lotus opens, its blossoms shining like pure white stars, glowing not despite the mud, but because of it. The mud was not its prison, it was its nourishment. The mud was not its shame, it was its teacher. You are that lotus. Your mud, your heartbreak, your trauma, your anxiety, your failures, your moments of complete collapse are not proof of your brokenness. They are the rich soil from which your awakening grows, dissolving to transform. This is not just a pretty metaphor, it's how life evolves. Consider the caterpillar. It doesn't just wake up one morning with wings. It builds a chrysalis, retreats into stillness, and then does something astonishing. It dissolves. Inside the cocoon, the caterpillar's body literally breaks down into a kind of liquid. To an outside observer, it would look like destruction, like failure. But inside that soup are imaginal cells, cells holding the blueprint for something unimaginable, a creature of the sky instead of the ground, a being of color and flight instead of crawling. The caterpillar doesn't become a better caterpillar, it becomes something entirely new. And so do you. Your breakdown may feel like death, but what's dying are the false layers of self that no longer serve you. What's dying are the expectations that were never truly yours. What's dying is the version of you that you had to be to survive, so the version of you that's meant to live can finally breathe. This is not a punishment. It is the natural process of transformation. The gold in your cracks. There is an ancient Japanese art called kintsugi, the repairing of broken pottery with gold. Instead of hiding the cracks or throwing away the shattered pieces, artisans carefully highlight the fractures with precious metal. The repaired bowl becomes more beautiful and more valuable than it ever was before. Its cracks aren't flaws. They are the most beautiful part. You are like that. Your cracks, the places life has broken you open, aren't evidence of failure. They're where the light gets in. They're where your truest beauty shines through. They're proof that you've lived, felt, risked, and loved deeply. Your nervous system knows. Here's what nobody tells you about the breaking open process. It isn't random. Your nervous system, your heart, your psyche, they have an innate wisdom. The identity that's crumbling, it may have been built on others' expectations anyway. The relationship that's ending, it may have stopped nourishing your soul long ago. The career that feels unbearable, perhaps it never aligns with your authentic self. The breaking apart you feel is not happening to you, it's happening for you. I know it doesn't feel like that right now. When you can't sleep, when you can't breathe, when you're convinced everyone else has life figured out and you're failing at the basics. But you are not behind. You aren't doing life wrong. You are exactly where you need to be for your awakening to unfold. Awakening comes in many forms. Some awakenings arrive like a sunrise, slow, gentle, almost unnoticed until the light is everywhere. Others arrive like lightning, sudden, shocking, illuminating everything in an instant. Many awakenings come disguised as heartbreak, illness, depression, or loss. They come when the old structures of your life can no longer hold the truth of who you are becoming. Think of a seed underground. If you could hear it break open, you might think it was being destroyed. The hard shell cracks, the tender shoot forces its way out, but this is not destruction, it's birth. You are breaking open because something in you is ready to grow, something more authentic, something more aligned with your true self. The symptoms of awakening. Your depression might be your soul slowing you down so you can finally hear what your heart has been whispering. Your anxiety might be the energy of transformation, excitement about who you are becoming filtered through fear. Your loneliness might be clearing space for a more authentic way of connecting with yourself and others. What if every symptom of falling apart is also a symptom of falling into your true life? This doesn't mean you shouldn't seek help. It doesn't mean you should suffer in silence or spiritualize your pain. It means you can seek support not as someone broken, but as someone in the sacred process of rebirth. Buddha nature. You were never broken. The Buddha taught that all beings have Buddha nature, an innate potential for awakening that cannot be destroyed. Your Buddha nature doesn't care about your mistakes, your past, your trauma, or your diagnosis. It's been patiently waiting your whole life for the right conditions to emerge. Sometimes those conditions look like success and joy. Often they look like breakdown and darkness. The composting of who you thought you were creates the rich soil for who you actually are. Real, not perfect. Your awakening doesn't require you to be perfect. It requires you to be real. Real includes broken, confused, grieving, and unsure. Real includes messy tears and sleepless nights. Real includes the parts of you that feel unlovable. When you stop trying to glue yourself back into who you used to be and instead trust the way you're being reassembled, something magical happens. You realize you're not breaking down randomly. You're breaking open with purpose. What's falling away was never truly you. What's emerging is your essence, your truth. Nature never apologizes. Look at spring. Seeds break open. Trees push through dead bark. Flowers burst through hard earth. None of them apologize for their breaking. None of them hide their transformation. You are nature. You are life expressing itself through human form. The breaking you feel is life expanding, love finding new ways to flow through you. Your cracks are not evidence of failure. They are fault lines where new worlds are being born. Your unbreakable core. At the center of all this change is something steady, an unbreakable core that remains untouched by any storm. A peace that doesn't depend on circumstances. A love that includes even your darkest moments. A strength that grows from within the cracks, not in spite of them. You are not broken. You are awakening. You are not falling apart. You are falling into truth. And one day soon, maybe sooner than you think, you will look back at this time and see what was really happening. Not the end of you, but the beginning. Not the collapse of your life, but the birth of your true one. Let this teaching live in your heart. You are not broken. You are becoming. And what you are becoming is more beautiful and more whole than you have ever allowed yourself to imagine.
Teaching 7. Love begins within your heart. You've been searching for love in all the wrong places, even in the mirror, where the harshest judge often lives. Each morning, before you even sip your first cup of tea or coffee, an invisible checklist starts running through your mind. Am I good enough today?
Did I achieve enough yesterday? Do I look acceptable in the world's eyes? Will anyone love me today, or do I have to earn it first? This relentless audit is exhausting, isn't it? And yet, you spend the rest of your day trying to gather evidence of your worth. You scroll through social media, comparing yourself to everyone else's highlight reel. You seek approval from bosses, partners, friends, strangers, even from likes on a screen. But the world is often too busy running its own worthiness audit to notice yours. Here's the truth no one teaches you. Love is not something you find, earn, or even attract. Love is something you already are. It doesn't start in someone else's heart. It begins in your own. You deserve your own love now, not later. Over 2,500 years ago, the Buddha said something revolutionary. You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. Notice what he didn't say. He didn't say, you'll deserve love when you achieve all your goals. He didn't say, you're worthy only if you never make mistakes. He didn't say, love yourself after you've become perfect. He said you deserve it now, with your flaws, fears, imperfections, and all the messy parts you try to hide. This isn't just a nice quote for a greeting card. It's spiritual medicine. Because here's what happens when you don't love yourself. You become a bottomless well. No amount of external love can ever fill a heart that constantly rejects itself. You might find yourself in relationships where you need constant validation, but it never feels like enough. Deep down, you know the people who say they love you can't see all of you. The hidden shame, the regrets, the parts you secretly believe make you unlovable. No matter how much love flows in, it feels hollow because your own heart is closed. But self-love changes everything. Self-compassion is the foundation. Think about how you talk to yourself when you make a mistake. How could I be so stupid? I always mess things up. No wonder nobody loves me. Now imagine saying that to a child who stumbled while learning to walk. You'd never dream of it, right? You'd rush to their side, pick them up, and encourage them gently. That child is still inside you, the one still learning, still stumbling, still figuring out how to be human. And that inner child deserves the same kindness you'd offer any other child. Self-compassion isn't weakness, it's the foundation of all growth. When you learn to be kind to yourself, you stop needing others to constantly validate your worth. When you fill your own cup first, you can love others authentically, instead of desperately seeking love to plug a hole inside. But how do you love yourself when you've been criticizing yourself for years? You start the same way you'd love anyone else, one gentle moment at a time. There's an ancient practice that can begin healing this relationship right now. It's called meta-meditation, or loving-kindness meditation. For thousands of years, it's been transforming hearts. Let's try it together. Find a comfortable position. Close your eyes if that feels safe, or simply soften your gaze. Place one hand on your chest over your heart. Feel that steady rhythm. It's been with you every moment of your life, always giving, never asking for anything in return. Take a slow, deep breath. Imagine sending love directly to your heart. Silently repeat these phrases, like planting seeds in fertile soil. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be safe. May I live with ease. At first, these words might feel foreign or forced. You might even hear a resistant voice saying, "I don't deserve this." That's just old conditioning. Keep going anyway. You're not trying to force a feeling. You're creating new neural pathways of kindness. Notice even the tiniest softening in your body, maybe in your shoulders, your jaw, your chest.
That's your nervous system remembering what it feels like to finally be on your own side. Stop trying to earn love. You didn't have to earn the right to breathe when you were born. You don't have to earn the right to love yourself now. Think about the people you love most. Do you love them because they're perfect? Do you withdraw your love when they have a bad day? Of course not. You love them because they exist, because they're uniquely themselves. You deserve that same love from yourself. Self-love doesn't mean you approve of everything you do. It means you support yourself through growth, just as you'd support a good friend. When you mess up, you don't abandon yourself. When life feels heavy, you don't turn against yourself. Instead, you place your hand on your heart and whisper, "This is hard right now, and that's okay. I'm still worthy of love." A daily practice of love. Here's a simple habit. Whenever you catch yourself in self-criticism, pause and ask, "What would I say to a dear friend going through this exact situation?" Then say those words to yourself. Instead of, "I'm such an idiot for messing that up," try, "Everyone makes mistakes. This is how I learn." Instead of, "I look terrible today," say, "I'm doing my best, and my worth isn't measured by appearance." Instead of, "Nobody could love me," whisper, "I'm learning to love myself, and that changes everything." At first, it feels awkward, like learning a foreign language. And in a way, it is. Most of us are fluent in self-criticism, not self-compassion. But practice rewires your brain. Over time, self-love becomes your native tongue. And when that happens, everything changes. You stop seeking validation in toxic places. You stop settling for crumbs of affection. You stop hiding behind masks. Why self-love heals you and others? Your body knows how to heal a physical wound without your effort. Your heart knows how to heal emotional wounds too, if you stop picking at them with self-hatred. Self-love isn't indulgence, it's medicine. It helps you set healthier boundaries because you value your well-being. Pursue dreams that truly align with your authentic self. Attract relationships that mirror your own self-respect. This isn't instant, it's a lifelong practice. Some days you'll fall back into old patterns. That's okay. Progress, not perfection, is the goal. Every time you catch yourself a little sooner and speak with a little more kindness, you're changing your life. Love radiates outward. As you continue this practice, you'll find your love naturally expanding outward. After you send loving kindness to yourself, extend it to the people you already love. May you be happy, healthy, safe, and live with ease. Strangers you encounter. Even difficult people, not because they deserve it more than you, but because love frees you from the poison of resentment. But it all begins here, with you. Becoming your own safe harbor. Ancient texts say that someone who truly loves themselves becomes like a mother bird gathering her chicks safely under her wings. You become a safe harbor for your own heart. You stop being afraid of your emotions because you know you'll meet whatever comes, joy or sorrow, success or failure, with compassion. With self-love as your foundation, you develop the courage to face anything. You realize that the love you've been searching for all along wasn't out there. It's been quietly waiting in your own heart. Love begins within you, and when you remember that, the whole world changes.
Teaching 8. Sit with pain without drowning. The way out of pain is not around it, not above it, not below it. It is through it. Every instinct in your body tells you otherwise. When emotional pain arises, your nervous system panics. Get me out of here. It shifts into escape mode. Fight it, flee from it, numb it, distract yourself until it goes away. That's why when the ache begins, we reach for our phones. We binge on work. We overeat. We scroll endlessly. We reach for alcohol or other addictions, anything that promises a moment's relief from the unbearable intensity of what we feel inside. But here is the truth that few of us were ever taught. Avoiding your pain is often more painful than the pain itself. Think about how your body digests food. You don't sit there giving instructions to your stomach about how to extract nutrients. You don't direct your intestines to absorb vitamins. Your body has an innate wisdom, a biological intelligence that knows exactly how to metabolize what you consume and transform it into energy and healing. Your heart, your mind, your emotional body, they have the same intelligence. They know how to process sadness, fear, grief, and heartbreak, but only if you let them. Somewhere along the way, most of us learn to distrust that inner intelligence. We learn to see difficult feelings as enemies, as emergencies. We were told to stay strong, move on, get over it, as if emotional pain were a sign of failure instead of a sign of being human, as if our hearts were defective and needed to be controlled. The Buddha discovered a very different truth. He didn't theorize about suffering, he experienced it. He sat under the Bodhi tree and faced waves of fear, doubt, loneliness, and temptation. And he did something radical. He didn't run, he didn't fight, he didn't numb. He stayed, he breathed. He allowed his awareness to hold all of it. And what he learned changed everything, for him and for millions since. The insight is simple but life-changing. Resistance is pain's accomplice, but presence is pain's healer. When you resist emotional pain, you unintentionally add layers of suffering to it. The original pain, let's say grief over losing someone you love, might feel like a heavy stone in your chest. That's painful, yes. But then your mind adds, I shouldn't feel this way. It's been months. What's wrong with me? I need to be stronger. No one can see me like this. Now you are not only grieving, you are fighting your grief, shaming yourself for your grief, and exhausting yourself resisting your grief. The original wound is now buried under layers of tension and self-judgment. But what happens if, instead of fighting, you turn toward the pain? What if you allow yourself to feel it without being swallowed by it? What if you meet it with the same tenderness you would offer a crying child? Let's try a practice together. Not to fix the pain, not to make it go away, but to change your relationship with it. Practice sitting with pain. Close your eyes if you feel safe doing so. Take a slow, deep breath. Bring to mind something causing you emotional pain right now. It doesn't have to be your deepest wound, just something present. A strained relationship, a disappointment, a recurring worry. Notice where it lives in your body. Does it sit like a knot in your throat? A weight in your chest? A churning in your stomach? You are not analyzing the story, you are feeling the sensation. Now, instead of pushing it away, breathe directly into that area. Imagine your breath as warm golden light flowing toward the pain. You are not trying to erase it, you are simply saying, I see you, I won't abandon you. Silently say to yourself, this is what pain feels like right now. Not, I am pain, which makes you identify with it, but this is what pain feels like, which makes you the compassionate witness. Notice what happens. The sensation might shift, it might intensify, it might soften, it might stay the same. That doesn't matter. What matters is that you are present. What you are doing is revolutionary. You are teaching your nervous system, I can feel pain without being destroyed by it. You are showing your heart, you are safe with me. Presence versus wallowing. There's a difference between wallowing in pain and being present with pain. Wallowing keeps you stuck in the story about the pain, why it happened, who's to blame, how unfair it all is. Presence drops below the story into the raw physical experience. What does it actually feel like in this moment? When you are present, you notice something surprising. Pain is not solid. It moves, it shifts, it has texture and rhythm. It's like weather, sometimes stormy, sometimes cloudy, sometimes clear. And like weather, when you stop fighting it, it naturally moves through. Think of a child who scrapes their knee. They cry fully, completely, without shame. They don't analyze or suppress their tears. They feel, they express, and then, often minutes later, they are ready to play again. Adults complicate pain with judgment. We've forgotten the wisdom we once had as children. Emotions are meant to flow, not stay stuck. A simple daily practice. The next time you feel pain rising, try this. Set a timer for 5 minutes. Give yourself permission to feel whatever is there for those 5 minutes. Place both hands on your heart. Breathe slowly. Let your exhale be longer than your inhale. This signals safety to your nervous system. If thoughts arise, let them go like clouds drifting. Return to the sensation. You are not thinking your way through pain, you are feeling your way through it. Often, what we label unbearable pain becomes bearable when we stop resisting. The raw sensations of sadness or fear are almost always manageable. It's our thoughts about them that feel unmanageable. This means I'm weak. This will never end. I'm broken. These are stories, not truths. Drop below the story. Trust your body's wisdom. Like waves rising and falling in the vast ocean, emotions come and go when we allow them. The natural cycle of emotions. The Buddha taught, all phenomena arise, abide, and dissolve. Your deepest grief will lighten. Your sharpest fear will soften. Your most persistent loneliness will eventually shift. This doesn't mean the loss or trauma didn't matter. It means your emotional system is designed to heal if you stop interrupting the process with resistance. Some fear that if they let themselves feel pain fully, they'll drown in it. But the opposite is true. When you finally let yourself feel, the pain often moves through more quickly than when you fight it. Holding pain down is like trying to hold a beach ball underwater, exhausting. When you let it float on the surface, it bobs gently with the waves. Think of a child who scrapes their knee. They cry fully, completely, without shame. They don't analyze or suppress their tears. They feel, they express, and then, often minutes later, they are ready to play again. Adults complicate pain with judgment. We've forgotten the wisdom we once had as children. Emotions are meant to flow, not stay stuck. A simple daily practice. The next time you feel pain rising, try this. Set a timer for 5 minutes. Give yourself permission to feel whatever is there for those 5 minutes. Place both hands on your heart. Breathe slowly. Let your exhale be longer than your inhale. This signals safety to your nervous system. If thoughts arise, let them go like clouds drifting. Return to the sensation. You are not thinking your way through pain, you are feeling your way through it. Often, what we label unbearable pain becomes bearable when we stop resisting. The raw sensations of sadness or fear are almost always manageable. It's our thoughts about them that feel unmanageable. This means I'm weak. This will never end. I'm broken. These are stories, not truths. Drop below the story. Trust your body's wisdom. Like waves rising and falling in the vast ocean, emotions come and go when we allow them. The natural cycle of emotions. The Buddha taught, all phenomena arise, abide, and dissolve. Your deepest grief will lighten. Your sharpest fear will soften. Your most persistent loneliness will eventually shift. This doesn't mean the loss or trauma didn't matter. It means your emotional system is designed to heal if you stop interrupting the process with resistance. Some fear that if they let themselves feel pain fully, they'll drown in it. But the opposite is true. When you finally let yourself feel, the pain often moves through more quickly than when you fight it. Holding pain down is like trying to hold a beach ball underwater, exhausting. When you let it float on the surface, it bobs gently with the waves. The courage to stay. Sitting with pain is not weakness. It's the highest form of courage. It's saying, I trust myself enough to be with my own experience, whatever it is. And as you practice this, something remarkable happens. You become less afraid of your inner weather. You develop confidence that you can face whatever life brings. Not because you're invincible, but because you're no longer at war with yourself. You discover that pain is information, not identity. It's telling you something about what matters, about where healing is needed, about what boundaries must be set, about what love is calling you toward. When you listen instead of run, pain becomes a teacher.
Teaching 9. Your thoughts are guests, not masters. Your thoughts are convincing liars dressed in truth's costume. At this very moment, as you take in these words, a familiar voice is speaking inside your head. Perhaps it's agreeing, yes, this makes sense, this feels true. Or maybe it's skeptical, this sounds unrealistic. Or maybe, almost without noticing, it has already wandered off toward your to-do list, an unfinished conversation, or what you'll have for dinner later. That voice is persistent, opinionated, and rarely silent. And most of us have spent our entire lives mistaking that voice for ourselves. We assume, if I think it, it must be me. It must be true. But here's the liberating truth. You are not your thoughts any more than the sky is the clouds that drift across it. When storm clouds roll through, the sky does not become the storm. When the sun breaks through and the clouds dissolve, the sky does not suddenly turn into light. The sky is constant, vast, unchanging, spacious, while the weather moves and changes within it. Likewise, you are the ever-present awareness beneath the flux of mental chatter. Your thoughts are weather. They come, they go, they shift and change, often without your consent or control. Somewhere along the way, you forgot this. We all did. We began identifying with every passing mental cloud, assuming that the weather is who we are. An anxious thought appears, and suddenly we think, I am an anxious person. A self-critical thought appears, I'm not good enough. A fearful thought appears, something bad will happen. Living like this, constantly fusing your identity with whatever random thought passes by, is one of the most exhausting ways to live. It makes you a prisoner of your own mental weather. The Buddha understood this deeply. He called the untrained mind a monkey mind, constantly restless, chattering, leaping from one branch to another. Yet he also taught that beneath all this mental noise, there is a stillness, an unshakable, aware, peaceful presence. That stillness is your true nature. Mental hygiene, brushing the mind. Think of mental hygiene like dental hygiene. You brush your teeth daily not because your teeth are evil or bad, but because you want to maintain health. Similarly, your mind needs maintenance, not because your thoughts are inherently wrong, but because without awareness, unhelpful thought patterns can accumulate and begin to dominate your life. Most of us, however, were never taught how to relate healthily to our minds. We brush our teeth without identifying with the toothbrush. We can learn to observe our thoughts without identifying with them. The key is simple but profound. Step back into the role of witness rather than being a character in every mental drama your mind produces. A practice becoming a thought watcher.
Here's a transformative exercise you can practice anywhere. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine sitting beside a slow, gentle stream on a warm afternoon. The water flows steadily over smooth stones. Occasionally, a leaf falls from an overhanging tree and lands gently on the water surface. You watch each leaf float past, appearing briefly in your field of vision, then moving downstream and disappearing. Your thoughts are like those leaves. Some are fresh and green, pleasant memories, joyful ideas. Some are dry and brown, old regrets, familiar worries. Some are colorful, creative bursts, exciting plans. Others are dark or withered, fears, judgments, self-criticism. The important thing? You don't have to jump into the stream and chase after every leaf. You can simply sit on the bank and watch them float by with curiosity and detachment. Try this now. Notice the next thought that pops up. Instead of engaging with it or following its story, label it simply thinking. Then let it drift by. Another thought appears. Label it thinking. Again and again, you watch, notice, and allow. At first, this feels strange. It's like stepping outside a movie you've been lost in and suddenly remembering you're sitting in a theater. Disorienting, yes, but this is where freedom begins. You're not your thoughts. You're the space in which thoughts appear and disappear. Thoughts are not facts. Why does this matter? Because thoughts are incredibly persuasive, yet not necessarily true. Your mind loves creating stories, often dramatic ones. It warns you of danger when none exists. It insists you are unworthy when you are in fact loved. It predicts disaster when life is unfolding perfectly fine. A dream works similarly. While dreaming, you never question the dream's reality. If you're being chased by monsters, it feels 100% real. If you're flying, it feels 100% real. But when you wake up, you see clearly, it was only a dream. Thoughts are like that. While identified with them, they feel absolute. But when you wake up into awareness, you see them as what they are. Temporary mental events, not ultimate truths. Practical versus compulsive thinking. This doesn't mean all thoughts are useless or that you should reject thinking. We need practical thinking to navigate life. I need to pick up groceries. I should call my doctor. These are helpful and functional. But much of our thinking is compulsive. Rumination, worry, harsh self-judgment. Thoughts like, everyone thinks I'm weird, or I'll never succeed. These thoughts are not instructions, they're mental weather. When you recognize this difference, you free yourself from unnecessary suffering. A simple reframe, I'm having the thought that. Here's a powerful tool for creating distance between yourself and unhelpful thoughts. Instead of saying, I'm a failure, try, I'm having the thought that I'm a failure. Notice how that slight shift creates space. You're no longer inside the thought, you're observing it. The thought is a guest. You are the host. Living as the host. When you live as the host rather than the guest, you develop what Buddhists call non-attachment to thoughts. The mind's chatter doesn't necessarily stop, but it loses its grip. Thoughts still arise, but you no longer feel compelled to obey or believe them all. From this space, deeper wisdom emerges. Intuition flows more freely when it's not drowned out by noise. Creativity expands when it's not crushed by inner criticism. Love deepens when it's not blocked by fearful mental stories. Who you really are. The Buddha taught, liberation doesn't come from having no thoughts. Liberation comes from not being enslaved by thoughts. Thoughts are guests in the spacious home of your awareness. Some guests are delightful, others are messy, but none of them define the home itself. You don't have to chase them out or cling to them desperately. You can offer hospitality to all while remembering, you are the host. You are the sky. You are the awareness, not the weather. And beneath the constant commentary of your mind lies the most healing realization of all. The person you've been striving so hard to become is already here, already whole, already free.
Teaching 10. Return to who you truly are. You are not here to become someone else. You are here to remember who you have always been. At your core, beneath all the roles you play and masks you wear, there exists a self that has never been broken, never been insufficient, and never needed to earn its worth. This teaching is about coming home to that self. From the moment we are born, we start learning. We learn language, rules, expectations, and how to relate to others. But somewhere along the way, many of us also learn to cover ourselves with invisible masks. These aren't masks made of fabric or paint, they are the personas we adopt to survive, fit in, or win approval. You know the masks. The mask that says, "I'm fine," when inside you are hurting and longing for comfort. The mask that performs endless positivity so others won't feel uncomfortable with your struggles. The mask that hides your sensitivity because someone once told you it was weakness, not a gift. The mask of achievement, worn to feel worthy because simply existing never felt like enough. And the longer we wear these masks, the heavier they become. We forget that there was ever a face underneath. Over time, we become so good at playing the roles others need us to play, the dependable one, the funny one, the strong one, that we lose track of who we actually are. This is why you sometimes feel exhausted even when life looks fine on the outside. It's not just the busyness of life that drains you, it's the energy spent maintaining an image, performing a version of yourself that doesn't match your heart. Living someone else's version of life is far more tiring than living your own. But here is the liberating truth. Authenticity is not something you need to create. It's something you uncover. Like an archaeologist brushing away layers of dust to reveal a treasure, your task is not to build a self worthy of love. It is to rediscover the self that has always been worthy. The Buddha nature within you. Ancient spiritual traditions have long understood this truth. The Buddha taught that every person is born with what he called Buddha nature, an innate, unshakable perfection. This doesn't mean we won't make mistakes or struggle. It means that beneath all our conditioning, there is a core of wholeness that life cannot damage. Think of a seed buried in the dark soil. That seed doesn't compare itself to the flowers around it. An acorn never tries to become a rose. It doesn't buy self-help books to figure out how to grow. It simply unfolds according to its inner blueprint. And so it is with you. You carry within you a kind of divine code, an authentic self that knows how to unfold if you let it. You don't have to force your growth or mold yourself into someone else's ideal. Your real work is removing what's in the way. The masks, the conditioning, the false stories about your worth. The unedited self. When you were very young, before the world taught you to doubt yourself, you knew exactly who you were. Watch any small child and you'll see what authenticity looks like. They laugh loudly when something is funny without checking if it's appropriate. They cry without apology when they're hurt. They dance, sing, or express joy without wondering if they look silly. They ask for what they need with honesty and directness. That unedited child still exists inside you. It's not about regressing to immaturity. It's about reclaiming that fearless honesty. Somewhere along the way, most of us learned that being ourselves wasn't safe. Maybe you were told to calm down when you were excited. Maybe you shared your dreams and were met with ridicule. Maybe you were punished for speaking up or dismissed when you were vulnerable.
Each of those experiences taught you to edit yourself, to betray your authentic nature, not out of malice, but out of survival. And over time, those small betrayals pile up until we barely recognize our own reflection. The good news? Your authentic self hasn't gone anywhere. It's not lost, it's just hidden, patiently waiting for you to stop pretending. Like a flower waiting for spring, the moment you stop forcing yourself to fit into someone else's mold, the real you begins to bloom. The gentle return. Returning to yourself rarely happens all at once. It's usually a gradual process, like the slow breaking of dawn. At first, it may feel subtle, even fragile. You might notice small things. A long-forgotten hobby that suddenly brings you joy. A boundary you finally feel ready to set. A preference or opinion that feels deeply true even if others disagree. Each of these moments is sacred. Each one is your authentic self whispering, "I'm still here. I never left. I've just been waiting for you to stop pretending." And this journey is not about becoming perfect or enlightened. It's about becoming real. Real includes messiness. Real includes uncertainty. Real includes days when you don't have it all figured out. The myth of self-improvement. We live in a culture obsessed with self-optimization, constantly pushing us to be better, smarter, more productive, more attractive. And there's nothing wrong with growth, but true growth comes from love, not from shame. You are not a problem to be fixed. You are not a project that needs completing. When you finally accept yourself as you are, something magical happens. The energy you've been spending on self-criticism becomes available for creativity and joy. The attention you've been using to monitor and adjust your image can finally focus on truly living. The love you've been withholding until you're good enough begins to flow freely right now. Imagine a rose trying to become a sunflower, constantly comparing its petals, wishing its stem were taller, resenting its inability to turn towards the sun like the sunflower does. What a waste of its beauty! The rose's perfection is not in becoming something else. It is in being fully, radiantly itself. Practicing authenticity. So how do you return to who you truly are? Start small. Speak your truth gently, even when your voice shakes. Say no when something doesn't feel right. Allow yourself to feel joy without apology. Set boundaries that honor your needs. Follow your curiosity, even if it doesn't make sense to anyone else. Each honest act is a homecoming. Each time you choose authenticity over performance, you strengthen your connection to your true self. It won't always be easy. The old voices of fear will whisper, "People won't like the real you. It's safer to keep pretending." But these voices are echoes from the past. The relationships that matter will deepen when you live authentically. And the ones that fall away were never nourishing your soul anyway. Home was never lost. When you finally have the courage to be yourself, you give others permission to do the same. Your authenticity becomes a gift, not just to you, but to everyone you meet. In a world full of masks, real presence is rare and healing. Returning to yourself is not a destination, it's a practice. It happens moment by moment. Each time you honor your truth instead of abandoning it. Each time you trust your inner knowing over external pressure. Each time you remember. Home is not a place you have to find, it's the place you never truly left. Your authentic self has been with you all along. Patient, loving, waiting for you to realize that you were never unworthy, never broken, and never required to become anyone else to be whole. When you stop fighting your nature, your natural healing emerges. Not a forced change, but a gentle transformation that unfolds in its own perfect timing. Like a flower opening to the sun, you too will bloom.
Teaching 11. Healing through sacred allowing. You cannot force a flower to bloom before its time. You cannot demand that a wound heal instantly, or that the seasons skip their natural rhythm. And yet, this is exactly what many of us attempt when we are hurting. We pressure ourselves to feel better now, to get over it, to move on, according to a timeline dictated by our impatient minds or the expectations of others. We treat grief, depression, anxiety, or heartbreak like problems to be solved through sheer effort, as if we could muscle our way back into happiness. But true healing does not respond to pressure. It is not a product of force or control. Real, lasting healing arises from something far gentler and infinitely more powerful: allowing. Think about how your body heals a small cut. You don't consciously instruct your cells to divide. You don't tell your blood how to clot or your skin how to knit itself back together. The body carries its own ancient wisdom. Your job is simply to protect the wound, keep it clean, and give it time. The healing happens because life knows how to heal. It has been doing so for millions of years. Your emotional, psychological, and spiritual healing operates by the same principle. Deep within you is an innate intelligence that knows how to mend what has been broken, how to integrate pain into wisdom, and how to transform your struggles into sources of strength. But this intelligence works best when you stop interfering with it, when you stop trying to force your healing to happen on your schedule or according to your idea of how it should look. We live in a culture that idolizes control, speed, and instant results. We've been conditioned to see every difficulty as an error to fix and every painful emotion as an enemy to defeat. We approach healing as if it were a project, like remodeling a house. Make a plan, follow the steps, achieve the result. But the soul doesn't work like that. The heart doesn't respond to commands. What if your very effort to fix yourself has been preventing the healing you long for? What if healing is less about doing and more about allowing? Sacred allowing is not about giving up or becoming passive. It is not about resigning yourself to endless suffering. Instead, it's about creating the conditions for healing to unfold naturally, the way a flower opens in response to sunlight, or the way a river flows effortlessly toward the sea. It is a shift from control to trust. The wisdom of nature. Look at the natural world and you'll see sacred allowing everywhere. Trees do not force themselves to grow. They respond to water, soil, and light. The seasons change without hurry or delay. Spring arrives when the conditions are right, not because winter tried harder to end. A seed buried in darkness does not demand to sprout. It waits, held in the mysterious patience of life until the moment is ripe. You too are part of nature. Your healing follows the same organic rhythms. There will be seasons of breakdown and seasons of breakthrough. There will be times when you feel buried, confused, lost in darkness. And those times are not evidence that something is wrong. They are parts of the sacred cycle. Seeds must dissolve in the dark before they can sprout. Caterpillars must turn into liquid inside the chrysalis before they can emerge as butterflies. Forcing yourself to hurry up and heal is like trying to pull a sprouting plant out of the soil to make it grow faster. It does not work. It only causes damage. Sacred allowing means honoring where you are right now without demanding you be anywhere else. The gentle art of allowing. So what does allowing look like in practice? It begins with a change in perspective.
Instead of viewing yourself as broken and needing repair, you begin to see yourself as whole and in process. Instead of treating your pain as an enemy, you approach it with curiosity and compassion. What is this feeling trying to tell me? What wisdom might it hold? Instead of demanding that your healing conform to your timeline, you trust that life has its own mysterious and perfect timing. Allowing doesn't mean wallowing. It doesn't mean you get stuck forever in anger, sadness, or fear. Rather, it means you stop resisting those emotions and give them the space to move through you. Emotions, like weather, are temporary. When they are blocked or suppressed, they tend to stagnate or erupt later in unhealthy ways. But when you allow yourself to feel what you feel, without judgment, without resistance, emotions tend to move through you, leaving clarity and insight in their wake. Think of a river. If you build a dam across it, the water builds pressure and eventually bursts out, often destructively. But if you let the river flow, it nourishes the land and carves beautiful paths. Your emotions work the same way. Allow them to flow. Practicing sacred allowing. You may wonder, how do I allow when my instinct is to control? How do I trust a process I cannot see? Begin with small moments of awareness. When you notice yourself suffering, physically, emotionally, or spiritually, pause and ask, what am I trying to force right now? Maybe you're trying to force yourself to feel grateful when you're actually feeling hurt. Maybe you're pushing yourself to be productive when your body desperately needs rest. Maybe you're demanding clarity when the situation needs time to unfold. Once you notice the forcing, try softening. Breathe into what is present. Offer yourself the compassion you would offer a dear friend. Instead of fixing your sadness, sit with it. Instead of shaming your fear, listen to it. Instead of pushing your healing, create conditions where healing can emerge on its own. These conditions are often simple. Rest when you're tired. Nourish your body with food that supports you. Feel your feelings without apology. Move your body gently without pushing it beyond its limits. Speak to yourself with kindness instead of harsh criticism. Allow yourself to receive support instead of insisting on carrying everything alone. Each of these small acts says to your being, I trust you. I trust your wisdom. I trust your timing. Healing in community. Another vital aspect of sacred allowing is recognizing that healing is often relational. Many of us have been conditioned to believe that asking for help is weakness. We think we must figure it all out on our own. But just as a tree needs soil, sunlight, and rain, we also need nourishment from outside ourselves. Allow yourself to accept help. Let yourself cry in the presence of someone safe instead of always holding it together. Seek therapy or counseling if it feels supportive. Accept love and care when it is offered. This is not weakness, it is wisdom. Healing often happens most deeply when we are held in compassionate community. The transformation of allowing. When you begin to live in this way, letting go of force, surrendering to the natural process, something profound begins to happen. The energy you once spent fighting your own pain becomes available for deeper living. Your relationship to your difficulties changes. You begin to develop what many spiritual traditions call equanimity, a balanced presence that does not depend on circumstances. This does not mean you become numb or indifferent, quite the opposite. You become more alive, more open-hearted. Because you're no longer resisting reality, you can fully meet life as it is. You can love more deeply. You can suffer without being defined by suffering. You become like a mountain in the storm, touched by the weather, but not fundamentally shaken by it. And over time, you discover something extraordinary. Beneath all your struggles, there is a deep stillness that has always been there. A peace that is not dependent on whether life is easy or hard. a wisdom that never runs dry. This is the gift of sacred allowing. When you stop fighting and start trusting, healing happens. Not always in the way or on the timeline you expect, but it happens. Gently, naturally, beautifully. Living as nature lives. Sacred allowing does not mean you take no action in life. It means your actions come from alignment rather than fear, from trust rather than desperation. It means you begin to live the way nature lives, flowing, responsive, attuned. You stop fighting life and start dancing with it. There will still be challenges. There will still be pain, but you will face them differently, with more compassion, more patience, and more trust. And in doing so, you become a living embodiment of a profound truth. Healing is not something you force. It is something you allow.
Teaching 12. Stillness is where everything begins. In a noisy and overstimulated world, stillness is an act of quiet rebellion. Pause for a moment and notice how rare this truly is. How often do you actually sit with yourself? No scrolling, no planning, no background hum of distraction, just being. Our culture celebrates movement, production, and constant stimulation. Yet, beneath all the noise, a deeper truth waits patiently. The source of life is found in stillness. We've been conditioned to believe that stillness is emptiness, that silence is boredom, that doing nothing is wasting time. But what if that belief is upside down? What if stillness isn't the absence of life, but rather the soil in which all life grows? Consider the seed. Its greatest transformation begins underground, hidden from view in darkness and silence. The oak does not sprout in chaos and noise, but in the profound quiet of the earth. Similarly, the most meaningful changes in our lives are birthed in the stillness beneath all our doing. The life beneath the noise. Your heart beats in the silence between thoughts. Your breath flows in the pauses between words. Your deepest healing happens not while you strive to fix yourself, but when you rest, surrender, and allow the quiet intelligence within you to work. Throughout these 12 teachings, we've explored grief, healing, self-compassion, and presence. All of them point here to the same quiet truth. Everything you've been seeking has always been waiting for you in stillness. When we spoke of suffering as a teacher, we meant the lessons only revealed when you stop running and listen. When we described emotions as temporary weather, we meant you can only witness that impermanence when you rest in the still sky of awareness beneath them. When we explored loneliness, detachment, and self-love, all pointed back to the same place, the quiet space at your center that is already whole. Stillness isn't a luxury or a rare spiritual state. It is your natural home. Beneath every thought, behind every experience, stillness is already there. You don't create it, you uncover it. The courage to subtract. But accessing stillness requires courage because it asks you to do what culture rarely encourages, subtract rather than add. You don't need to add more affirmations, more rituals, more achievements, more noise. You need to gently remove the distractions and stories covering what's already here. Not just external noise, though silencing the TV or putting away your phone can help. More importantly, it's the internal noise, the endless commentary about yourself, the mental to-do lists looping endlessly, the what-if fears about tomorrow and the regrets about yesterday, the quiet but constant belief that you are not enough and must become someone else to be worthy. When you subtract this mental noise, what remains isn't emptiness. What remains is presence,
a profound fullness, awake and alive, needing nothing to be whole. Think of music. Without pauses, it would be unlistenable noise. The rests between notes are not empty. They give meaning to the melody. Your life works the same way. The spaces between doing are where wisdom grows. But we have become afraid of those spaces. We fill every pause with our phones, every quiet moment with chatter, every silence with mental planning. And in doing so, we disconnect from the ground of our being. Returning to the quiet source. Stillness does not require a meditation cushion or a silent retreat in the mountains. It doesn't demand hours of spiritual practice. It is always available, right here, no matter your circumstances. Start with the breath. Not as a technique, not as something to control, but as something to notice. Breathe in, pause, breathe out. There is a natural stillness at the end of each exhale, a quiet gap where nothing needs to happen. Rest there for a moment, no effort, just being. Now widen your awareness. Even if you are in a busy place, notice that there is always stillness beneath sound. There is silence holding every word, just as space holds every object. The stillness is not absent. It's the canvas on which everything appears. You can touch the stillness anywhere. While walking, notice the brief pause of balance between each step. While speaking, rest in the silence between sentences. While driving, feel the quiet awareness beneath the movement. The point is not to create more stillness. It's to recognize the stillness that's already here, patiently waiting for your return. What happens when you rest in stillness? When you begin returning to this inner quiet, even for moments, something remarkable happens. All the teachings we've explored stop being abstract ideas and start becoming living truths. You see that suffering really was a teacher, because in stillness, you hear what it's been trying to tell you. You experience emotions as weather, moving through the sky of awareness that you are, leaving you unbroken. Loneliness shifts into spaciousness. You feel connected to the larger flow of life. Attachments soften naturally when you're rooted in what cannot be lost, the awareness that remains no matter what happens. Healing stops being a forced project and becomes a natural unfolding. You realize you don't have to chase peace, love, or wisdom. They emerge in stillness. They are qualities of your true self. Stillness is your true home. The Buddha's great realization was not that he added something to himself, but that he recognized what was always present, the unshakable awareness beneath all conditions. This is sometimes called Buddha nature, Christ consciousness, pure awareness. The labels don't matter. What matters is that you recognize this awareness in yourself. It is the awareness listening to these words right now. It has always been here, through joy and heartbreak, success and failure. It is untouched by your thoughts, unchanged by circumstances. When you return to stillness, you find that you were never broken, never unworthy, never separate. What you've been seeking isn't in some distant future when you finally get it all right. It is here, now, waiting in the quiet center of your being. Practicing the sacred pause. So how do you live this truth? Not by adding more spiritual tasks, but by returning again and again to stillness. Here are simple invitations. Pause for 3 conscious breaths between tasks. Spend a minute each morning sitting quietly before reaching for your fallen. Listen fully to the silence between sounds. When your mind races, ask, who is aware of this thought? And rest as the awareness itself. These aren't rigid rules. They are gentle doorways. Each pause is an opportunity to remember who you are beyond the noise. The end that is a beginning. As our journey through these 12 teachings reaches its conclusion, remember this: it is also the beginning. Every moment, you can choose to return home to the stillness within you. You don't have to wait until you're healed, enlightened, or perfect. The wholeness you seek is already here. Stillness is where everything begins. It is where healing happens, where wisdom arises, where love flows freely. It is the source of your being and the destination you return to. Beneath every story, beyond every emotion, deeper than every wound, there is a silence untouched by time. This is what you are. Welcome home.
The natural healing journey forward, a deeper reflection. As we come to the conclusion of this series, it's important to pause and reflect on the journey we've shared. The golden thread woven through all 12 teachings can be expressed in a single transformative truth. You already have everything you need for healing inside you. Healing is not about adding something new to your life, or chasing after the perfect routine, or endlessly searching for answers outside yourself. It's about remembering what has always been there: your inner wisdom, your innate capacity for peace, and your ability to return to balance even in the midst of chaos. Too often, we believe healing is a faraway destination, something we can only reach when all the circumstances in our life line up perfectly. We tell ourselves, once I have less stress, once I find the right doctor, once I feel happy, then I'll be healed. But healing doesn't work like that. Healing is not a place you arrive at. It's the way you walk. It's how you travel, moment by moment, choice by choice, breath by breath. The natural healing lifestyle is, in truth, beautifully simple. The more you understand this simplicity, the more you realize that healing isn't about doing more, but about doing less with greater awareness. You don't need complicated rituals or endless self-improvement plans. What you need is gentleness, presence, and the willingness to trust your own process, even when you cannot see where the path leads. 1. Breathing with your pain. One of the most profound yet overlooked teachings is learning how to breathe with your pain instead of fighting it. Most of us, when faced with physical or emotional suffering, contract. We tighten our bodies, we clench our minds, we resist. But resistance only amplifies pain. When you soften and breathe, when you consciously invite your breath into the spaces that hurt, something begins to shift. Try this right now. Take a deep, slow inhale. As you breathe in, silently say to yourself, "I welcome what is." As you exhale, release the tension in your body and whisper internally, "I let go." This simple act of mindful breathing doesn't mean you enjoy your pain or pretend it's not there. Instead, it means you choose to meet it with compassion instead of fear. Over time, this practice helps your nervous system settle, your mind quiet, and your heart open. 2. The gift of stillness. We live in a world addicted to noise, busyness, and distraction. Yet healing blossoms in silence and stillness. Just a few moments each day, sitting quietly with yourself, can change everything. This doesn't require hours of meditation or sitting cross-legged on a mountaintop. It can be as simple as closing your eyes for 5 minutes in the morning and listening to your breath. In that stillness, you'll begin to notice a profound truth. Beneath all the thoughts, worries, and stories you tell yourself, there is a deep well of peace already within you. You don't have to create it, you simply have to uncover it. When you rest there, your mind clears, your heart steadies, and life's challenges become easier to face. 3.
Speaking to yourself with kindness. Another cornerstone of natural healing is learning to speak to yourself with the same kindness you would offer a dear friend. Many of us are our own harshest critics. We tell ourselves we are weak for feeling pain, lazy for needing rest, or broken because we don't match some impossible ideal. But healing cannot grow in the soil of self-criticism. It flourishes in the sunlight of compassion. Ask yourself, would I speak to someone I love the way I speak to myself? If the answer is no, then it's time to shift the inner dialogue. Replace "I'm not good enough" with "I am doing my best." Replace "I'll never heal" with "I am healing, slowly and surely." These words matter. They shape your nervous system. They rewire your brain. Over time, they create an internal environment where true recovery can take root. 4. Trusting the process even in the dark. Healing often unfolds in ways you cannot predict. There are moments when the path feels clear and bright, and moments when it feels dark and confusing. Both are part of the journey. When you can't see what lies ahead, trust anyway. Like a seed buried in the soil, there are times you cannot see the growth happening within you, but that doesn't mean it's not there. The ancient wisdom traditions, going back over 2,500 years, remind us that we are part of a lineage of healers, seekers, and survivors. Millions of people before you have walked through suffering and found peace. Their courage lives in you. When you choose to keep going, even when the road is uncertain, you honor that lineage. You add your light to it. 5. Your healing lights the world. One of the most powerful insights from the Buddha is this: thousands of candles can be lit from a single candle, and the life of the candle will not be shortened. Your healing doesn't just benefit you. When you choose presence over avoidance, compassion over judgment, and peace over fear, you ripple those choices out into the world. Think of someone you admire, someone whose calm presence or kindness inspired you. Chances are they went through their own struggles. They chose healing, and their healing touched you. Now it's your turn. Your courage to sit with your pain, your willingness to walk the healing path becomes a gift to everyone's life you touch. 6. The ripple effect of peace. You may never see the full impact of your healing. The person who feels less alone because of your story. The child who feels safer because you chose patience over anger. The friend who takes courage from your resilience. Your peace radiates outward in ways you might never witness. That is the quiet power of healing. It transforms not only you, but the entire web of life you are connected to. 7. Sharing the light. If these teachings have touched you, consider sharing them with someone who may need this gentle reminder of their inherent wholeness. Healing is not a competition. There's no scarcity of light. The more you share, the brighter the world becomes. Sometimes a single sentence, a kind gesture, or even your silent presence can plant seeds of hope in another heart. A final blessing for your journey. As you move forward, remember, you don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to be healed to help others. You simply need to walk with honesty, compassion, and openness. Healing is not about erasing pain. It's about transforming your relationship with it. It's about becoming softer, kinder, and more connected to yourself, to others, and to life itself. So breathe with your pain. Rest in stillness each day. Speak words of kindness to your own heart. Trust the unseen growth within you. And remember, your healing is a candle lighting thousands of others. Rest in the stillness you are. Rest in the peace you have always been. Healing isn't just your birthright, it is your gift to the world. Chapter 1. The Heart of Buddhism. A path, not a religion. When people first hear the word Buddhism, they often imagine temples, statues of the Buddha, incense smoke curling through the air, or monks meditating in silence. While these are parts of Buddhist cultures, they are not the heart of Buddhism. At its core, Buddhism is not about worshiping a god or clinging to a set of rigid beliefs. It is about understanding your own mind and heart. It is about waking up to life as it really is, not as we imagine it to be. Over 2,500 years ago, a young prince named Siddhartha Gautama, who later became the Buddha, faced a profound question that touches every human being. Why do we suffer? He saw sickness, aging, and death, and realized that no amount of wealth, power, or pleasure could shield us from life's challenges. Instead of ignoring these truths, he decided to confront them directly. After years of searching, practicing meditation, and exploring different paths, Siddhartha attained awakening under the Bodhi tree. He discovered that the key to peace is not outside us, but within us. He became the Buddha, which means the awakened one. Importantly, he never claimed to be a god. He said he was just a human being who woke up, and that all of us have that same potential. Buddhism, a path of awareness. Buddhism invites us to explore, not to blindly believe. It asks us to look within and see reality as it is. The core teaching is simple yet profound. We all have the ability to awaken. Being awake means living with clarity. It means noticing when our minds are lost in anger, fear, or craving, and gently guiding them back to peace. It means recognizing the preciousness of each moment instead of living on autopilot. Buddhism doesn't ask for unquestioning faith. The Buddha himself said, "Do not believe in anything simply because you have heard it. Do not believe in traditions simply because they have been handed down. But after observation and analysis, when you find that something leads to well-being and happiness, accept it and live up to it." This makes Buddhism more like a path of inner discovery, rather than a religion in the traditional sense. There are no commandments. Instead, there are guiding principles like mindfulness, compassion, and wisdom that help us walk through life with more awareness and peace. What Buddhism is and what it is not. It is not about worshiping a deity. It is not about believing blindly in dogmas or rituals. It is not about escaping life's problems. Instead, it is about waking up to life as it truly is. It is about understanding suffering and its causes. It is about cultivating compassion for yourself and others. It is about learning to let go of attachments that keep us stuck. When you start seeing Buddhism as a path of practice rather than a set of beliefs, it becomes something you live, not something you simply agree with intellectually. A Zen story, the simplicity of awakening. Zen teachings often express profound truths in simple ways. Here's a classic story. A student once asked a Zen master, "What is Buddhism?" The master replied, "When hungry, eat. When tired, sleep." The student was puzzled. Isn't Buddhism supposed to be complicated? Aren't there meditations, sutras, and philosophies to study? The master smiled gently and said, "When you are truly present, even simple acts become enlightenment." What does this mean? In our busy lives, we often eat while scrolling our phones or think about work while spending time with loved ones. We rarely live fully in the moment. Zen teaches us that enlightenment is not somewhere far away. It's here, in the ordinary acts of life, if we do them with complete awareness. Practical reflection, living Buddhism today. How can you bring this teaching into your life? Start with awareness. Next time you eat, just eat. Notice the texture, the taste, the smell. Be present. Observe your thoughts. Are you lost in regret about the past or worry about the future? Bring yourself gently back to now. Practice compassion. When you feel anger, pause and ask, can I see the other person suffering? Can I respond with kindness instead of blame? See life as a teacher. Instead of saying, why is this happening to me? Ask, what can I learn from this? These simple practices help you experience the heart of Buddhism without needing to join a temple or adopt a new identity. It's about how you relate to yourself and the world moments by moment. Why this path brings peace? Most of our suffering comes from resisting reality. We want life to always go our way. We crave what we don't have and cling tightly to what we do have, fearing it will slip away. Buddhism teaches that everything changes: pleasure, pain, success, failure. When we learn to accept this truth and stop fighting against it, we find a peace that doesn't depend on external circumstances. This doesn't mean becoming passive. Instead, it means engaging with life wisely with an open heart. You start to respond rather than react. You become less controlled by fear and craving. You begin to experience freedom. The heart of the path. The Buddha described his teaching as a raft. A raft helps you cross a river, but once you reach the other shore, you don't carry it on your back. Similarly, Buddhist teachings are meant to help you, not to become another burden. The heart of Buddhism is practical. How can you suffer less and love more? How can you live with wisdom? Key takeaways from this chapter. Buddhism is about awakening, not worship. It is a path of self-discovery rooted in mindfulness and compassion. Enlightenment is found in everyday moment, not in faraway temples. True peace comes from understanding yourself and life as it is. Closing reflection. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning fully present. You notice the cool air on your skin, the sound of birds outside, the warmth of your tea. You feel gratitude instead of rushing into stress. You smile at someone not because you have to, but because you genuinely feel connected. This is the beginning of the Buddhist path. Simple, human, transformative. As we continue this journey in the next chapters, we'll dive deeper into the Buddha's core teachings, like the Four Noble Truths, meditation practices, and Zen stories that bring these ideas to life. But always remember, the heart of Buddhism is not about becoming something new, it's about waking up to who you already are.
Chapter 2. The Four Noble Truths, the Foundation of Freedom. If Chapter 1 introduced us to the heart of Buddhism as a path of awakening rather than a religion, then Chapter 2 takes us to the very core of the Buddha's realization, the Four Noble Truths. This is not just philosophy, it's a practical map for liberation, a way of living that helps us meet life's ups and downs with wisdom and inner peace. The first noble truth: life has suffering, dukkha. When the Buddha first began teaching, he started not with God or creation myths, but with what every human already knows deep inside. Life includes suffering. Birth involves pain. Aging and sickness can be difficult. Death brings grief. Even the happiest moments carry a whisper of unease because they can't last forever. But it's important to understand, the Buddha was not being pessimistic. He was being realistic. He wasn't saying that life is only suffering, rather he pointed out that unsatisfactoriness is woven into our human experience. Think about it. Have you ever had a perfect day only to feel anxious that it might end? Have you ever achieved something you wanted, but a few days later you found yourself craving the next goal? Have you ever loved someone deeply and felt afraid of losing them? This is dukkha, the restlessness, the sense that things slip through our fingers. We grasp, we cling, and we hurt. Yet there's a beauty in recognizing this truth. When you stop denying your pain, you open the door to healing. A Zen story tells of a student who asked the master,
Why is life so painful? The master held up a cup and said, because you think the cup will never break. Everything breaks, everything changes. The cup is already broken. The only question is, can you love it while it lasts? This is the essence of the first noble truth. See life clearly, as it is, precious and fragile. The second noble truth, the cause of suffering, samudaya. Once we see that suffering exists, the Buddha invites us to look deeper. Why do we suffer? The Buddha identified the roots of suffering as craving, attachment, and ignorance. We crave pleasure and resist pain. We cling to things as though they will last forever. We misunderstand reality, imagining we are separate from others, imagining we can control the uncontrollable. For example, we want praise, and when someone criticizes us, we feel crushed. We want relationships to stay the same, and when people change, we resist. We want our youth to stay, our money to grow, our plans to unfold perfectly, and when they don't, we ache. The problem isn't desire itself, it's our clinging. As one Zen teacher put it, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. A simple illustration. Imagine holding a rope tied to a wild horse. The horse runs and you're dragged, your hands burning from the rope. What causes your pain? Is it the horse or your refusal to let go? Craving is like that rope. We clutch what hurts us because we believe, I need this to be happy. A monk once asked the Zen master, how do I end suffering? The master replied, drop the rope that burns your hands. It sounds simple, but in practice, it's a lifetime's work, and it begins with awareness. The third noble truth, the end of suffering, nirodha. Here comes the hopeful part. Suffering is not permanent. Just as clouds cover the sun but do not destroy it, our suffering can clear. The Buddha discovered that when we let go of clinging, a natural joy arises. It's not dependent on things being perfect. It's the peace of being alive and awake in this moment. Consider this. Have you ever had a moment when you stopped fighting life and simply accepted it? Maybe watching a sunset, sitting quietly with a loved one, or taking a deep breath after a hard day? That's a glimpse of the freedom the Buddha spoke of. Freedom doesn't mean you'll never feel pain again. It means pain won't control you. It means you no longer define your happiness by conditions outside of you. There's a Zen saying, enlightenment is the end of the argument with reality. When you stop arguing with life, this shouldn't have happened, I should be somewhere else by now, things must go my way, peace quietly enters. The fourth noble truth, the path to freedom, magga. If the first three truths diagnose the problem and reveal the possibility of healing, the fourth noble truth gives the prescription, the path to freedom known as the Noble Eightfold Path. The Eightfold Path isn't a list of rules, it's more like a compass, guiding us towards wisdom, ethical living, and mental clarity. The 8 aspects are often grouped into 3 categories. Wisdom, prajna. Right view, see life clearly, understand impermanence and interconnection. Right intention, commit to kindness, compassion, and non-harm. Ethical conduct, sila. Right speech, speak truthfully and kindly. Right action, live ethically, don't harm others. Right livelihood, earn a living that supports rather than destroys life. Mental discipline, samadhi. Right effort, cultivate wholesome states of mind, let go of unwholesome ones. Right mindfulness, be present, know what you're doing while you're doing it. Right concentration, develop focus through meditation. This path is not linear, it's a gentle spiral. We walk it, fall, and walk again. Over time, the mind grows quieter, the heart grows softer, and suffering loses its grip. Practical wisdom for everyday life. The 4 noble truths aren't meant just for monks in monasteries. They're for you and me, for real life. When you feel anxious, pause and ask, what am I clinging to? Maybe it's the need for approval, certainty, or control. Notice the craving, gently let go. When you feel hurt, ask, am I holding the burning rope? Maybe the story in your head is worse than the reality. When you feel joy, remember its impermanence. Love it fully now. Don't cling to make it last. This simple awareness is liberation in action. A Zen story of letting go. There's a famous Zen parable of two monks walking by a river. They see a woman struggling to cross. One monk, bound by his monastic rules, refuses to help. The other monk carries her across on his back. Hours later, the first monk says, "You shouldn't have touched her." The second monk smiles and replies, "Brother, I put her down hours ago. Why are you still carrying her?" We do this all the time. We carry grudges, regrets, anger long after the moment has passed. The Buddha's path invites us to put it down. The foundation of freedom. The Four Noble Truths are often called the foundation of Buddhism, but really they are the foundation of inner freedom. They invite you to see life clearly without denial or bitterness. Recognize the causes of your suffering. Trust that freedom is possible. Walk the path of awareness and compassion. This is not a quick fix, it's a lifelong journey. But every step brings more light, more presence, more peace. As one Zen master beautifully put it, enlightenment is an accident, but practice makes you accident-prone. The Four Noble Truths are your invitation to practice, to awaken a little more each day. Reflection exercise. Tonight, take 5 minutes and write down one thing you're clinging to. Ask yourself, what would happen if I loosened my grip just a little? You don't need to drop it all at once. Even a small letting go is the beginning of freedom. Chapter summary. Key points. Life has suffering, not to make you sad, but to help you see reality clearly. Suffering has causes, craving, attachment, and ignorance. Suffering can end. Peace is possible. The Eightfold Path is the way, a practical guide to freedom. This is the Buddha's gift, not dogma, not blind faith, but a way of living that leads to less suffering and more love.
Chapter 3. The Eightfold Path, a roadmap to inner peace. When the Buddha discovered the truth about human suffering and the possibility of liberation, he did not stop at diagnosis. Like a compassionate physician, he offered a treatment plan, the Eightfold Path. This is not a list of rigid rules, it is a living guide, a gentle yet powerful set of practices that gradually lead to freedom. The path is called Eightfold because it has 8 aspects, each supporting the other like spokes on a wheel. When practiced together, they help you develop wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental clarity. The goal is not perfection, but progress. Think of the Eightfold Path as a compass. It doesn't force you, it guides you. It's not about renouncing life, but about walking through life more awake, compassionate, and peaceful. Let us explore each step deeply, with practical ways to apply them and Zen wisdom to illuminate their meaning. 1. Right view, samadhi, seeing clearly. The journey begins with seeing reality as it truly is, not as we wish it to be. Right view means understanding that life is impermanent, interconnected, and often involves suffering. It does not mean being pessimistic. On the contrary, when we accept that change and loss are part of life, we stop fighting reality and begin to flow with it. How to practice. Notice when you get upset because something didn't go your way. Ask, am I upset because I expected things to be permanent or perfect? Reflect on cause and effect. Your thoughts, words, and actions create ripples. Understanding this makes you wiser and kinder. Zen insight. A monk asked, "What is the essence of Buddhism?"
The master replied, "Everything changes." When we accept change, we become less fearful and more grateful for the present. 2. Right intention, sama sankappa, the heart's compass. If right view is about seeing clearly, right intention is about choosing how you want to live from that understanding. It means cultivating thoughts of love, compassion, and non-harming. It also means letting go of ill will and the constant craving for more. How to practice. Begin your day by setting an intention. Today, I choose to be kind. Notice when anger arises. Instead of acting on it, pause. Ask, what is the most compassionate way forward? When your intentions are rooted in compassion, your actions naturally become harmonious. 3. Right speech, sama vacha, words as medicine. Words have power. They can heal or hurt, bring people together or tear them apart. Right speech means speaking truthfully, kindly, and meaningfully. It does not mean you must always be silent or agreeable. Rather, speak with awareness. Ask, is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? How to practice. Replace gossip with encouragement. Listen deeply before responding. When upset, wait before speaking. Words spoken in anger often leave lasting wounds. Zen story. A student asked, "How can I speak wisely?" The teacher smiled. When you know the truth and your heart is kind, your words will already be wise. 4. Right action, sama kamanta, living in harmony. Right action is about making choices that do not harm yourself or others. It is the natural expression of compassion through behavior. Traditionally, this means not killing or causing harm, not stealing, respecting relationships and avoiding exploitation. But beyond rules, it is about integrity. Ask yourself, are my actions aligned with my deepest values? How to practice. Treat others as you wish to be treated. Help someone in need without expecting anything in return. Notice if your daily habits support life and kindness or cause harm. When your actions are ethical, you sleep with a peaceful heart. 5. Right livelihood, sama ajiva, work that nourishes. We spend a large part of our lives working. The Buddha emphasized that how we earn matters. Right livelihood means choosing work that does not exploit, harm, or deceive. It's not always about quitting your job, but about bringing integrity and compassion into your work. How to practice. Reflect. Does my work harm others or the planet? Bring mindfulness into your job. Even simple tasks can be meaningful when done with awareness. Seek ways to serve others through your work, however small. When our livelihood aligns with compassion, work becomes a path to awakening, not just survival. 6. Right effort, cultivating inner strength. Spiritual growth is like tending a garden. If you want flowers, you must water them and remove weeds. Right effort means putting energy into wholesome states of mind and gently letting go of harmful ones. This is not about pushing yourself harshly. It's about steady, balanced effort. How to practice. When anger, jealousy, or fear arise, notice them without judgment. Gently redirect your mind toward kindness. Feed your mind with uplifting books, people, and experiences. Celebrate small improvements. Progress is gradual, like a tree growing. Zen wisdom. A monk asked, "How do I reach enlightenment?" The master replied, "Just keep sweeping the floor." Every small effort counts. Inner peace grows through consistent, simple practice. 7. Right mindfulness, being fully present. Most of our suffering comes from living in the past or worrying about the future. Right mindfulness is about waking up to the present moment. It means being aware of your thoughts, feelings, and surroundings without getting lost in them. How to practice. Pause and take 3 mindful breaths several times a day. Pay attention while eating, walking, or talking. Notice your thoughts like clouds passing through the sky. Don't cling or resist. Mindfulness is the doorway to peace because life only happens now. 8. Right concentration, deepening awareness. Finally, the Buddha spoke of right concentration, often cultivated through meditation. It means focusing your mind deeply and calmly, allowing wisdom and insight to emerge. You don't have to be a monk to meditate. Even 5 minutes of quiet awareness each day can transform your life. How to practice. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, focus on your breath. When your mind wanders, and it will, gently bring it back. Over time, you will notice more clarity, peace, and compassion arising naturally. Zen story. A student asked, "Which step of the path is most important?" The master replied, "The one you are on." The Eightfold Path is not a ladder to climb, but a circle to walk with awareness. Peace is not in the future, it is here, in this step. Bringing it all together, the path as a whole. The Eightfold Path is holistic. These 8 aspects support each other. Mindfulness helps you choose wise speech. Compassion fuels right action. Right concentration strengthens your view. Don't worry about mastering all 8 at once. Start where you are. Even practicing one step with sincerity can bring peace. The path is not escaping life, but engaging with it fully, with clarity, love, and wisdom. Practical exercise. Walking the path today. Morning reflection. When you wake up, set an intention based on one aspect of the path. For example, today I will speak kindly. Mindful pause. Throughout the day, take 3 deep breaths whenever you remember. Evening reflection. Ask yourself, where did I walk the path today? Where can I improve? Do this with kindness, not guilt. Final Zen insight. Peace is not found in some distant monastery. It is found in your own mind and heart, moment by moment, step by step. When you live with awareness, compassion, and wisdom, even imperfectly, you are already walking the Eightfold Path.
Chapter 4. Impermanence. Everything changes. One of the most profound teachings of the Buddha is the truth of anicca, or impermanence. This single insight has the power to transform how we see life, how we deal with suffering, and how we cultivate inner peace. The nature of impermanence. Everything in this world is in constant flux. The seasons change, the weather shifts, the tides rise and fall. Our bodies grow, age, and eventually pass away. Our emotions fluctuate. Sometimes we feel joy and love. Other times we experience sadness and anger. Nothing stays the same. Impermanence is not something we have to believe in. It's something we can observe. Look around. The flower that blooms today will wither tomorrow. The heartbreak that felt unbearable years ago is now just a memory. Even the happiest moments don't last forever. At first glance, impermanence can feel unsettling. We want the good times to last and the bad times to disappear quickly. But the Buddha taught that understanding impermanence is not about despair, it's about liberation. When we deeply realize that everything changes, we learn not to cling too tightly, nor to resist what life brings. Why does impermanence matter? The Buddha observed that much of our suffering arises because we cling to what we want and resist what we don't want. We chase pleasure, security, and recognition, hoping they will last forever. But when they fade, as they inevitably do, we feel pain. Similarly, we fight against difficulties, hoping to avoid all pain. But life has its share of storms. Loss, illness, aging, and death touch everyone.
If we deny this truth, we remain caught in fear. However, if we accept impermanence as the nature of all things, our hearts open. We see life not as something to control, but as something to embrace moment by moment. The joy of a flower lies in its briefness. The tenderness of love exists because we know it's precious and fleeting. When you see impermanence clearly, two things happen. You suffer less because you know that no pain lasts forever. You cherish more because you know that no joy lasts forever either. Reflection exercise on impermanence. Take a moment to reflect. Think of a tough moment in your past. At the time, you might have felt you'd never get through it, but you did. Time moved on. The pain shifted. Now, think of a beautiful memory. Maybe a holiday with loved ones, a success, or a moment of laughter. That too passed. Notice the common truth. Everything arises and passes. Joy and sorrow, pleasure and pain, gain and loss. They all flow like a river. This reflection isn't meant to make you sad. It's meant to make you wise. The present moment is all we truly have, and it's precious because it's fleeting. Zen story, the flower and its withering. Two monks were walking through a forest in early spring. The sunlight filtered through the trees and a single flower stood in full bloom, radiant and fragrant. One monk paused and said, "Look at this flower. It's so beautiful, but soon it will wither and die." The other monk smiled gently and replied, "Yes, and that is precisely why it is beautiful." This simple story captures the essence of impermanence. The flower's beauty is inseparable from its transience. If it bloomed forever, would we truly appreciate it? The same applies to life. Our relationships, our moments of joy, even our breath, each is a gift that lasts only a short while. When we see their impermanence, we stop taking them for granted. Impermanence and emotional healing. Many people hold on to past hurts. We replay old wounds and believe the pain defines us. But if everything changes, so can we. The Buddhist teaching on impermanence is a call to release old burdens. Ask yourself, what am I holding on to that causes suffering? Perhaps an old argument, a betrayal, or a failure. Remember that even your story about the event is not fixed. It changes as your mind and heart grow. Likewise, when facing current pain, illness, financial struggle, heartbreak, remember, this too shall pass. It doesn't mean the pain isn't real, but it means it isn't permanent. Healing is possible because life is impermanent. Impermanence and gratitude. Impermanence is not only a balm for suffering, it's also an invitation to live fully. When we realize that we won't always have what we have now, gratitude blossoms. Hug your loved ones a little tighter. Appreciate the meal in front of you. Enjoy the morning breeze. Each moment becomes sacred when you know it won't return in the same way. In Buddhist practice, monks often meditate on death, not morbidly, but to awaken gratitude for being alive. When you accept the changing nature of life, you stop wasting time and start living with awareness and love. Impermanence and non-attachment. The Buddha didn't teach us to reject life's pleasures. He taught us not to cling. There's a difference. Enjoy beauty, but don't grasp it as if it should last forever. Love people deeply, but don't try to control them. Celebrate success, but don't let it define your worth. Non-attachment doesn't mean indifference. It means freedom. You love more deeply because you know nothing is permanent. You stop fearing loss because you accept it as part of life's flow. Meditation practice on impermanence. Here is a simple meditation to help internalize impermanence. Sit quietly and focus on your breath. Notice each inhale and exhale. Realize that each breath arises and passes away. None can be held. Extend this awareness to sounds, thoughts, and sensations. Watch them come and go. Reflect. Everything I experience is changing. Nothing is fixed, and that's okay. Practicing this daily builds resilience and peace. Impermanence in modern life. In our fast-paced world, we often try to hold on tightly to youth, possessions, status. Entire industries promise to freeze time. But resisting change only creates anxiety. Instead, the wisdom of impermanence teaches us to flow with life. Careers will change, friendships will evolve, technology will advance, our bodies will age. If we cling, we suffer. If we flow, we adapt and grow. The Buddha's insight into impermanence is as relevant today as it was 2,500 years ago. Closing reflection, the beauty of change. Impermanence is not an enemy, it's the very fabric of life. Without change, there would be no growth, transformation, no hope. A seed must break open to become a tree. A caterpillar must dissolve to become a butterfly. We too must accept change to become who we are meant to be. The monks in the Zen story remind us, this too will wither, and that is why it is beautiful. When we embrace impermanence, we stop chasing eternity and start living in the now. In this acceptance, we find peace. Chapter 5. Right Livelihood, Sama Ajiva, Work that Nourishes. We spend nearly 1/3 of our lives at work. Whether you are a farmer tilling the soil, a student learning to shape your future, a business owner, or someone managing a household, your work consumes a significant part of your daily energy. The Buddha recognized this and emphasized that our livelihood isn't just about earning money, it's a profound part of our spiritual path. What is right livelihood? In the Noble Eightfold Path, right livelihood, Sama Ajiva, refers to earning a living in a way that does not exploit, harm, or deceive. It means choosing work that aligns with compassion, integrity, and respect for life. Right livelihood is not about abandoning your job and moving to the mountains. Instead, it asks, does my work contribute to well-being or suffering? Am I aligned with honesty and compassion in what I do? In Buddhism, the Buddha specifically discouraged livelihoods that directly harm living beings or create suffering. These included trading in weapons, contributing to violence or warfare, trading in living beings, exploiting people or animals, trading in meat, professions that involve killing directly, trading in intoxicants, businesses that encourage addiction, trading in poisons, harmful substances that destroy health or life. These categories are not rigid rules, but ethical guidelines to help us reflect. Am I bringing harm into the world through my work? The modern challenge of work. In today's world, many jobs are complex. You may not directly harm anyone, yet you might feel drained, stressed, or unfulfilled. You might wonder, what if I cannot quit my job? What if I need this work to support my family? Buddhism does not ask you to abandon your responsibilities. Instead, it asks you to bring awareness and integrity into whatever you do. Even if your current work feels meaningless, you can transform it with mindfulness. How to practice right livelihood in daily life. 1. Reflect honestly. Take time to ask yourself, does my work directly harm others or the planet? Does my job involve deceit or exploitation? Is there a way to make my work more ethical and compassionate? Honest self-reflection is the first step to change. If you find your work conflicts deeply with your values, you can explore other paths over time. But even before any career change, there are ways to infuse integrity where you are. 2. Bring mindfulness to work. You can transform even mundane tasks into meditation. Imagine washing dishes mindfully, feeling the water, observing your thoughts. Similarly, when you work, focus fully on each task instead of rushing. Treat colleagues and clients with kindness, even in small interactions. Take mindful pauses throughout the day. Breathe, observe your body, and reconnect with the present moment. When mindfulness enters your work, your stress lessens and you bring more clarity and compassion into every action. 3. Find ways to serve others through work. The Buddha emphasized service. No matter your profession, ask, how can my work benefit someone today? Can I add value to people's lives, even in small ways? A teacher serves by shaping young minds. A shopkeeper serves by providing essential goods. Even a factory worker contributes by creating products that people need. Service does not require grand gestures. It thrives in small acts done with love. A Zen story, The Cobbler and the Monk. There is an old Zen story about a cobbler who repaired shoes in a small village. He often felt his work was insignificant compared to monks meditating in temples. One day, a monk visited him and said, "Your work is noble. Every pair of shoes you repair allows someone to walk comfortably. You make their journey easier. Isn't that service?" The cobbler realized that work done with integrity and love becomes a spiritual practice. This is the heart of right livelihood. Whatever you do, do it with compassion. Right livelihood and inner peace. When your work aligns with your values, your heart feels lighter. Many people experience stress not just because of workload, but because of inner conflict, doing something that doesn't resonate with their conscience. Buddhism teaches that inner harmony comes from ethical living. When you are not deceiving, harming, or exploiting, you naturally feel peaceful. Your work becomes more than survival. It becomes an expression of your awakened self. Practical steps to align your work with right livelihood. Evaluate your current work. Write down your daily tasks and see if any involve harm or dishonesty. If yes, think about how to reduce or eliminate them gradually. Seek ethical opportunities. If possible, look for jobs that contribute positively to society. Education, healthcare, sustainable businesses, social services, creative arts, and more. Create change where you are. Even if you cannot leave your job, you can improve your work environment. Be kind to colleagues. Avoid gossip or harmful speech. Suggest eco-friendly or ethical improvements to your company. Live simply. Often, we feel trapped in jobs because of high expenses and lifestyle demands. Practicing simplicity reduces dependency on harmful work. Reflection exercise. Take a few minutes today. Sit quietly and ask yourself, what kind of work makes my heart feel alive? Recall a moment when you felt your work truly served someone. How did that feel? Write down 3 small ways you can bring more compassion into your work this week. Right livelihood is a lifelong path. You do not need to have a perfect job to live ethically. What matters is intention and effort. The Buddha never promised instant change. He emphasized gradual transformation. As you walk this path, you will notice subtle shifts. Work feels less burdensome. Your relationships at work improve. You find deeper meaning beyond paychecks. Closing reflection. Right livelihood is not about prestige or salary. It is about harmony between your inner values and outer actions. When your work nourishes rather than harms, you contribute to a better world. The Buddha's teaching is clear. When work is done with mindfulness and compassion, it becomes part of the path to awakening. Whether you are a student, an employee, or an entrepreneur, your work can be your spiritual practice. Ask yourself every day, how can I serve? How can I bring more kindness into my profession? When you work from this place, you will discover that your livelihood not only sustains your body, but also feeds your soul. 6. Right effort, Samma Vayama, cultivating inner strength. We all know that inner peace doesn't just happen overnight. It's like tending a delicate garden. If you want vibrant flowers to bloom, you must water them regularly, nourish the soil, and remove weeds that choke their growth. Right effort, or Samma Vayama, as taught by the Buddha, is precisely this: the steady cultivation of positive, wholesome states of mind and the gentle release of harmful, destructive ones. But here's the most important thing. Right effort is not about burning yourself out or pushing yourself harshly. It's about a balanced, consistent, and mindful effort, like a slow river carving its path through solid rock, not through force, but through persistence. What does right effort really mean? Right effort has 4 key aspects according to Buddhist teachings: preventing unwholesome states from arising, abandoning harmful states that have already arisen, cultivating wholesome states that have not yet arisen, maintaining and perfecting wholesome states that already exist. In simple terms, don't let negativity dominate your mind. If negativity appears, learn to release it without feeding it. Actively nurture kindness, compassion, and wisdom. When you find inner peace, protect and strengthen it. Think of it like mental gardening. Weeds don't need permission to grow, they appear naturally. Similarly, harmful emotions like anger, jealousy, fear, or greed arise spontaneously. But if we simply let them take over, they strangle the flowers of peace, gratitude, and joy. So right effort means you consciously tend to your inner garden every day. How to practice right efforts in daily life? Now you might be wondering, this sounds beautiful in theory, but how do I apply it when I'm stressed, overwhelmed, or hurt? Here are practical steps. 1. Notice harmful states without judgment. When anger, jealousy, or fear arise, pause, take a breath. Don't fight the feeling and don't label yourself as bad for having it. Instead, observe. Anger is present in me right now. Fear is visiting my mind. This mindful observation already reduces its grip. Why? Because you've shifted from being controlled by the emotion to being the observer of the emotion. 2. Redirect energy toward wholesome thoughts. Once you notice a harmful thought, don't suppress it forcefully. Instead, gently guide your mind elsewhere. For example, if anger arises towards someone, ask, what pain might they be carrying? If jealousy arises, remind yourself, their success doesn't diminish my worth. If fear arises, take small steps to face it with courage rather than letting it paralyze you. This is like turning your inner compass toward light instead of darkness. 3. Feed your mind with positivity. You can't expect peace if you constantly consume negativity. Guard what you feed your mind with. Read uplifting books. Spend time with kind and compassionate people. Listen to inspiring talks and practice gratitude. If you nourish your mind with beauty and kindness, you naturally strengthen wholesome mental states. 4. Celebrate small victories. Buddhist wisdom reminds us that transformation is gradual, like a tree growing silently. When you notice even the tiniest progress, like being less reactive than yesterday, celebrate it. Inner growth is not about perfection, but persistence. The Zen wisdom of sweeping the floor. There's a famous Zen story. A young monk once asked his master, "How do I reach enlightenment?" The master replied simply, "Just keep sweeping the floor." At first glance, this might seem too simple, even silly, but the meaning is profound. Every small act of mindfulness, sweeping the floor, washing dishes, listening attentively, is an opportunity to cultivate right effort. You don't need a grand retreat in the Himalayas. Enlightenment grows quietly in your everyday actions when you approach them with presence and compassion. avoiding the trap of harsh effort. Sometimes seekers get overzealous. They push themselves too hard with meditation, self-improvement, or spiritual practices, thinking that intensity will bring faster results. But the Buddha warned against this imbalance. He gave the example of a musical instrument. If the strings are too tight, they break. If they're too loose, they make no sound. Only when they are balanced can they create beautiful music. Your mind is the same. Right effort is about balance. Neither laziness nor overexertion lead to peace. A steady, compassionate effort is the key. Practical exercise, the 4 right efforts in action. Here's a simple way to apply this principle daily. Morning reflection. Before starting your day, ask, what wholesome qualities can I cultivate today? It could be kindness, patience, or gratitude. Mindful awareness. Throughout the day, notice when negative emotions arise. Pause and breathe. Wholesome redirection. Shift your energy. Listen to calming music, recall something you're grateful for, or help someone. Evening gratitude. Before sleeping, reflect. Where did I make an effort today to be better? Even the smallest effort counts. A Zen parable on effort and growth. Another Zen story beautifully illustrates right effort. A student asked his master, "Master, how long will it take for me to attain enlightenment if I meditate diligently every day?" The master replied, 10 years. The student, eager to progress faster, said, "What if I work twice as hard and practice day and night?" The master smiled and said, "Then it will take 20 years. Why did the time double? Because overexertion breeds tension and frustration. Spiritual progress is not a sprint. It's a gentle, lifelong walk. Why right effort matters for inner peace. Without right effort, the mind naturally gravitates toward negativity, resentments, worries, regrets. But when you practice right effort, you develop emotional resilience. Your relationships improve as you respond with patience instead of anger. You feel lighter because you're no longer feeding harmful thoughts. You connect deeply with the present moment. And over time, you realize something profound. Inner peace is not something you chase, it's something you cultivate, like a quiet garden blooming in your heart. Zen wisdom to remember: enlightenment is not found in doing more. It is found in being more in whatever you do. As we come to the end of this journey through the heart of Buddhist wisdom, take a moment to pause and breathe. You've explored the essence of the Buddhist teachings, simple, practical, and deeply transformative. Buddhism is not about adopting a new religion or blindly following rituals. It's about learning to see life clearly and live with compassion and awareness. You've learned that the foundation of Buddhism begins with understanding suffering and its causes. Life brings challenges, pain, and uncertainty, but instead of resisting or denying them, Buddhism invites us to look deeper, to understand the nature of our thoughts and emotions. When we see clearly, we stop fighting reality and start flowing with it. We've explored the Eightfold Path: right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration, not as rigid rules, but as guiding principles for a meaningful life. Each step is like a gentle light on a dark road, helping us navigate with kindness, wisdom, and balance. From Zen stories and simple parables, you've discovered that wisdom doesn't always come from books or complex philosophies. Sometimes it's as simple as sweeping the floor, being present with your breath, or smiling at a stranger. Buddhism teaches us that enlightenment is not far away. It begins here and now, in small, consistent acts of awareness. Meditation, the heart of Buddhist practice, is not about silencing the mind, but about befriending it. Even if your thoughts wander 100 times, each time you gently return to the present, you are training your mind and planting seeds of peace. Just as a muddy pond settles when left undisturbed, your heart too becomes clear with practice. Most importantly, Buddhism teaches compassion, not just for others, but for yourself. It's about being kind to your mistakes, learning from them, and walking forward without self-hatred. True spiritual practice is not about perfection, it's about progress. Remember the Zen wisdom: when walking, walk; when eating, eat. Inner peace is not found in escaping life, but in living it fully, moment by moment, with awareness. As you close this chapter, ask yourself, how can I bring more mindfulness to my daily life? How can I respond to suffering, my own and others, with compassion? What is one small step I can take today toward inner peace? Buddhism is a lifelong journey, not a destination. There will be times you stumble, and that's okay. Each time you return to awareness, you are already on the path. May these teachings be like a lamp that guides your way. May you find calm in the storms of life, love where there is anger, and wisdom where there is confusion. And as you continue this journey, remember, you already have everything you need for peace within you. The Buddha said, "Peace comes from within. Do not seek it without." Let these words live in your heart. Let your life itself become the practice.